Our Father in heaven, we thank thee for this beautiful week that we've enjoyed, for the moisture that we've received that has helped to get this area out of the severe drought problems that we've had, and for just the beautiful nature that we have here. Father, we're grateful to thee for the ability to come together as leaders of this community with input from our residents and our businesses to do the business of the city. We are so grateful to thee for those that are on the dais, for their willingness to serve and for their ability to help to make things better as we progress through the decisions that will be made today. Father, at this time we ask thee for thy blessing of thy Spirit, that they might have the power of discernment, that they may be blessed with the ability to garner the facts that they need in order to enable them to make wise choices that affect the city, our residents and our businesses, as well as our tourists. We ask thee to continue to bless this community as we go forth to celebrate the 250th anniversary of this great country, that we continue to strive to serve as an example to the rest of the country and how we treat each other and the ability that we have to make everybody feel welcome. And we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chief. Madam Clerk, would a roll call, please?
Harkness.
Here.
Lucas. Cooper.
Here.
Milton.
Here.
Denham. Scholes.
Here.
Williams.
Present.
Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we start public comment, I need to make a public apology. The apology is to Doug Smith. At our last meeting, Doug Smith was wanting to comment a second time on an agenda item. And I was insistent that our rules say only you can't comment more than once on an agenda item. And I felt really bad because it was clear that Doug had something that was really important he wanted to share. So it was my mistake for not allowing him to share. And so that is my public apology to Doug. In saying that, I'd also like for our aldermen who maybe realize that that was a mistake on my part. When those things happen in the future, I just appreciate being corrected in the meeting so we can address that at the time. So with that, this is the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meeting. At this time, the board will hear the citizens who have signed up in the order they are listed. Please note, the clerk will let speakers know when they have 30 seconds left, and a notification will sound when their time is up. We ask that speakers wrap up their comments upon hearing the 30-second warning. If a speaker would like a board member to bring an item down from consent agenda for an additional discussion, please note this request during comments. Please come to the freestanding microphone podium to address the board. Madam Clerk, how many speakers do we have?
We have 6 speakers.
Okay.
And our first one is Brian Seitz speaking on special presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the record, I am State Representative Brian Seitz, and I do reside here in Branson. I have a resolution that I thought it would be fitting to give during a Board of Aldermen meeting. And Marshall Howden, if you come forward, please, with the board's permission.
You bet.
I've known this, before I read this, I've known this gentleman for probably over a decade. And I've watched him grow into the man that he is today, and I thought he did an outstanding job as alderman for I think you were in for 4 years? Yeah, for 4 years, and prior to that, except for myself and a couple other fixtures, he was sitting right back there watching what was going on, learning the ropes, and was very diligent in serving Branson even before he was elected. So I thought it was only fitting that I present to him today from the Missouri House of Representatives a resolution, and I won't read it all, but I'll read it in part. Whereas it is with special pleasure that the members of the Missouri House of Representatives pause to recognize an outstanding Missouri citizen whose efforts and accomplishments have made him a source of inspiration to all those around him. And whereas Marshall Howden, a longtime resident of Branson, Missouri, is to be commended for his dedicated service to the live entertainment capital of the state as Ward 1 Alderman, a position that he relinquished on April 7th, 2026, to pursue a new business venture. And whereas an alum of the Branson High School, Marshall Howden has supported sustained growth throughout the destination city while serving as a member of the Board of Aldermen. And here's where it gets a little funny. Since 2002, we always thought Marshall looked young, but I'm telling you, this is a typo. You would have only been 9 years old, which explains why you're 24 right now. So anyway, I think it was 2022 probably. Yeah. So whereas a music aficionado has also served as the city's ambassador to shows, Marshall is also the grandson of Country Music Hall of Famer Mel Tillis, and for many years has valiantly endeavored to preserve Branson's live music show industry by founding the Song of Hope Historical Society, a living memoir that chronicles the area's rich musical history through exhibits that continue to grow to this day. I think it's wholly appropriate for his service to the city, for his service to Branson Entertainment, for his service to the community in general, that Marshall Howden received this Missouri House of Representatives resolution signed by myself and the Speaker of the House, John Patterson. Thank you, Marshall.
Wow. Marshall, say a few words. Thank you.
You know, I've given a lot of awards, so much so that they made memes about it. So it's awful nice to receive one. Appreciate you guys. Humbled and honored.
Thank you, Marshall. Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is Joe Alkire, speaking on comments from citizens.
Good evening. My name is Joe Alkire. I was just coming to, make a statement that it's my understanding that there's an intention of maybe moving the citizen comment section to later in the meetings. Just keep in mind, that a lot of us don't have all the time in the world to come to these meetings and have our voices heard, and to sit through a 3-hour meeting only to be late in the meeting to give our voice or our opinion really isn't conducive to the general public. So I know that you guys have work to do, and that can take some time. But if we could keep the citizen comments at the beginning of the meetings, like right now, this is very handy. We can come in and say what we need to say, and then you guys can continue on with your business of the day. So I sit on a lot of boards myself, and I know that often that can be used as a strategy, but just having it early in the meeting is more conducive to the general population. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is Imelda Beatty, speaking on timing of public comment.
Hello. Imelda Beatty from Sienna Estates, Branson. If you don't mind, I read my
That's
thoughts.
fine.
And it sort of follows what he is saying. I'm here to encourage that the public comment remain as is at the beginning of the meeting. I feel that to move it to the end of the meeting would create a hardship on the people you represent. The steps that you are taking to limit comment to only those who are from Stone or Taney counties or who own and operate businesses here are right steps. They're the right steps to take, and with that move will automatically rein in the number of comments, which was a concern. To go beyond that and to move public comment to the end of the evening's meeting is a bridge too far. You may feel your rationale makes sense, but I do not think that it will bode well with the public that you represent. Many of us are not savvy enough about the process of knowing when to give public comment as opposed to waiting for a consent agenda item to come down for public comment. So we may, by mistake, get things out of order. On a different note, in talking with someone recently that had moved here from out of state, he informed me that the town he came from, this plan was carried out. The public comment had been moved to the end of the meeting. They resorted to video recording the public comment due to the fact that practically everyone else had gone home. The comments were to be listened to at a later time. This says to me that the interest in the public comment became minimal. This almost certainly minimizes the elected officials from being scrutinized from any bad decisions or challenges from the community. I do hope that you keep the public comment where it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is Carolyn DeJager, speaking on public speaking at beginning of meetings.
Carolyn DeJager, Stone County. Also, speaking on public comment should be stated and stayed at the beginning so we get our voices heard. We went through a lot of this through COVID when we weren't being heard. So I just would like that you consider it to be stayed at the beginning of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Rick DeJager, speaking on public speaking before meeting.
I'm Rick DeJager. I'm from Stone County. I'm also on planning and zoning. Appreciate that. I'm not a speaker. I actually put together a two-page document that I was going to read, there was a lot of good, negative, but it all boils down to what we're here for is public comment. I'm old. I don't want to sit here all night. I also, a lot of times, get up before the sun. So an early meeting is beneficial if you want to hear the comments of a lot of us old people. That's pretty much all I have to say, other than I do vote my own vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker is Mike Metz, speaking on public comment and ICE contract.
Looks like I picked a popular subject this evening. And while I was watching everybody else speak, it brought something to mind for me. By having the public comment at the first of the meeting, the Board of Aldermen, Alder ladies, will be able to get an idea of what people think, rather than wait until the end after all the business has been done or whatever it is they're talking about has already been voted on. If you do it at the first, at least you can have some time to ponder on what's going on. Also, speaking like that, I think we've got a good setup already. You've got to sign in before you can make a public comment. And if at some point you want to put a limit on how many people can speak, then, you can do it on the tablet, or you can pass and say, we have more comments that need to be heard, and so we'll pass this down to the next meeting, or whatever you need to do. I think on that last deal that instigated this, had so many people speaking, I think they did the right thing. They skipped it over, says let's wait till it comes up and then have a comment on this. That way you're not sitting here listening to 100 people commenting on something that, is gonna get in the way of everything else you gotta get done. So that's pretty much all I had to say about that. I put on there, I don't know if I can comment on more than one thing. I was listening to the radio the other day, and they were talking about the different steps that were being taken. I think it was Alligator Alcatraz is how they started off. And they went to going on to the different things they were doing, and they brought up the very thing that started this. They were talking about that the ICE agents were employing the different things that they were going to do and give the local police to, look for illegal aliens and whatnot, which we've been a while since we've done that, got voted in, but I was wondering what's being done. Are police still doing around, catching speeders and, keeping everybody safe, or are they out knocking on doors trying to find out how many illegals are around? I mean, it's nothing, they don't need to be here, but we don't need to be doing somebody else's job for them, whenever our police are supposed to keep us safe. And so that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next is the consent agenda. Are there any items that any member of the board or staff would like to have moved down from consent to ask additional questions or make comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please read the items on the consent agenda?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes for the May 26, 2026 special meeting, May 26, 2026 regular meeting, and June 3rd, 2026 special meeting. Acknowledge receipt of Planning Commission minutes for the May 11th, 2026 special meeting. Acknowledgement of disbursements for May 21st, 2026 through May 28th, 2026. Final reading of Bill Number 6673, an ordinance approving the second amended and restated cooperative agreement between the historic downtown Branson Community Improvement District and the City of Branson, Missouri, and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement. Final reading of Bill Number 6683, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a developer agreement with Fountains of Fall Creek LLC for Fountains of Fall Creek Development. Final reading of Bill Number 6684, an ordinance approving the cooperative agreement with Taney County for the county to provide funding toward the cost of the city's pursued development project to expand and improve the sewer system servicing properties along Fall Creek Road, west of Country Bluff subdivision, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. Final reading of Bill Number 6685, an ordinance pertaining to extraterritorial legislative and campaign activity. Final reading of Bill Number 6686, an ordinance amending Section 2-28 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to finance and human resources reporting. And final reading of Bill Number 6687, an ordinance approving the intergovernmental agreement with Taney County Ambulance District for the Memorandum of Understanding for the use of utility vehicle. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
So do I have a motion approving all items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you provide a roll call vote, please?
Harkness,
Yes.
Lucas, Cooper,
Yes.
Denham,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6681, an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to the criteria for addressing the mayor and board of aldermen. This item was postponed during the May 26th and June 9th regular meetings. It had a motion and second and is ready for additional discussion and a vote. Also, please note for the record, additional red line proposed changes were distributed to the board after 5 business days due to being finalized by staff.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any additional discussion?
Yep. Mayor, I move to amend Bill 6681 by incorporating all of the changes indicated in red as displayed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Are there any members of the board wishing to speak regarding the amendment?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I had one question for clarification. I just want to make sure that like any members of a CID board or anything like that are not able to speak if they don't live in Stone or Taney County, and maybe they're part of a board, but they don't have a business inside of the community. I want to make sure we don't overlook that.
I don't think that's included in this, is it?
I mean, do we have many of those types of members on political subdivisions and boards?
Normally, there are resident requirements for those, or like a SID board, they would have to live with or own property within the SID district. Those are all in the general area.
Okay, so most of those are going to fall under our speakers. Forgot what we called them.
Eligible commoners.
Thank you, Alex.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ruth.
are we going to hear from the public before?
Oh, yes, we will.
Thank you.
Just trying to listen to the board.
So in this, the amendment to keep it at the end of the night is still in here, right?
That's correct.
Or is it their turn?
I'm going to ask them.
Okay, go ahead.
You'd let me ask them. You just have to sit back and listen. Are there any members in the audience wishing to speak to this amendment? Come on up to the microphone, please.
Mayor, perhaps you could clarify that this is just the amendment.
That's correct.
Good evening. My name is Haven Howard. I have been a resident of Taney County for 33 years. I love living in this area and raising my family here. I would like to remind the mayor and the city council members, oops, just a second here, lost my space, that it's not the builders, the developers, the contractors, or the architects that elected you to office or whom you represent. The citizens of this city are who you represent. They are the ones that should have priority and input into what goes on in the city. I agree with you that only Tain and Stony County and those with businesses here should be able to speak at the city council meetings. But it's not right or fair that citizens have to wait till the end of the meeting, sometimes several hours, in order to share their thoughts, their wishes, and their concerns. Please reconsider the scheduling of your meetings to put the citizens first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, Mr. Mayor, it should only be to the amendment.
It's me again. I know you're getting sick of me. Julie Metz, like Taney Como Acres. One thing nobody's brought up is that parents with young children, they have to pay a babysitter to come here. So it could become an awful expensive night if they have to wait till the end of the meeting to speak. That's all I wanted to bring up.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What exactly are we discussing? This thing was amended on the fly last meeting. It would have been nice to have a staff report so we know what we're commenting on and where we are. And I agree with Alderman Schultz, but what is the amendment? What amendment are we discussing? What has been added to the bill? How does it read now? You're a lot more intelligent than me if you know.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Excuse me, Alex. I understand what the legalities are, and the legalities are the board and the public should only be speaking, addressing the amendment to this bill.
Okay, what is the amendment that I'm addressing?
However, because of the confusion on this, and because this mayor and this board puts the priority of listening to our visitors, our residents, that I want to be more flexible, and if some that show up to speak and they don't understand the difference between the amendment and the bill we're talking about, I'm allowing them some liberties to do that.
That's great. But could somebody just give us a review of what we're doing? This was all done by video on the fly and
Okay. So,
help. Then I can speak intelligently to it.
Yep. Okay, so Hillary, would you please answer this question?
So the changes in red were the motions that Alderman Williams submitted. They pertain to removing the requirement to have an oath. It's on several of these pages, so anything that's in red is the proposed amendment. If you want to scroll a little bit. So it's cleaning up the verbiage to be in line with not requiring an oath is the main, and Alderman Williams might be able to speak more to this specifics.
Anything else, Hillary?
I believe those were the only amended changes.
A major thing was we changed it last meeting, we changed the start of the public comment to the end. That was a major change last meeting. Is that still up there? Is that the amendment we're talking about right now?
It is not.
So,
No, that was voted on and approved.
so that amendment is now part of the bill?
Correct.
That was voted on and approved.
Correct.
Yeah. So technically, Gary, the speakers, the board, and the audience are supposed to be speaking on just these items in red. And like I said, when I have somebody from the public that comes up and wants to talk about the bill, I'm not going to correct them and ask them to sit down because this is amendments and come back at the right time.
Okay, well, in that case, I hope Alderman Williams will appreciate this. I know he likes stats and facts, so this is for you, sir. Between June 24th, 2025 and June 9th, 2026, this board held 21 meetings. During those 21 meetings, 64 people spoke during public comment. Divide 21 into 64, and the most you get as far as delaying anything is about 3 minutes. If the provisions that were in this ordinance were in place during that period of time, that would have been reduced to 38 speakers, which would be about 2 minutes per speaker, because you have a prescribed time limit during public speaking. At the most, it could have been 10 minutes a meeting. The proposed ordinance, unlike the existing ordinance, has a specific prohibition against a speaker discussing an item on the regular agenda during public comments. Had that provision been in place during the June 24th, 25 through June 9th, 2026, the number of speakers during that period would have been reduced from a total of 64 to 38, about 2 per meeting. At the most, 10 minutes per meeting delay prior to getting to regular agenda business. Again, I would remind you that the speaker's time is strictly controlled in public comment. On the average, the most someone is waiting to conduct regular agenda business, they'd have to wait 10 minutes with this current rule if it's passed. On the other hand, a regular agenda item has no such time limit for each item. If public comment is moved to the end, those public comment speakers would have to wait anywhere from an hour to 4 hours to speak for a minimum of 5 minutes, and would have to sign up to speak before the meeting even starts. Where's the need to move it from the beginning to the end because of inordinate delay? To me, it seems like we're proposing a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. Those are stats. And I'll go, if you'd like, I will go down meeting by meeting from June 9th until now. I'll give you the name of the speaker, I'll give you the topic, and I'll give you whether or not they would have been eliminated under this. I mean, I know you can do what you want to do, and you're probably going to do it. But please, don't tell us you're trying to save time for the regular agenda, because that's just poppycock. Where's the need to move it from the beginning to the end because of inordinate delay? One of the examples I've heard is a long meeting like the one with ICE. Well, let's take a look at just how long public comments delayed getting to the discussion of regular agenda during that over 5-hour-long meeting. The tape of the meeting shows the public comment ran from approximately 18 minutes and 20 seconds to 30 minutes and 20 seconds, about 12 minutes. That's 12 minutes out of an over 5-hour meeting. Give me a break. The tape of the meeting shows that the public comment, if this proposal ordinance had been in place, that time would have been reduced to 0 minutes, because all the speakers that spoke were on topics that were going to be discussed at the regular meeting. You had about 9 of them withdrew when they were given the opportunity. The 6 that spoke, the Cushmans, Bob Ewells, they were talking about agenda items, but as Bob so nicely told you, he was ready to go. Even though the ICE discussion went on for hours, it was not caused because of public comment period. The regular agenda discussion was extended because there was no limitation on who could speak. Under the proposed regulation, that period of time would have been cut drastically because of the limitations who can speak. But either way, it had not a darn thing to do with public comment. And these are stats. These come right out of your tape. Given the actual facts, how can any of you justify moving the public comment period from the beginning of the meeting to the end of the meeting? To me, it is based on the actual evidence as opposed to political power. It seems like a proposed solution to a problem that doesn't exist. And I have here, if you want to talk about any meeting, I'll be happy to, any meeting, you pick a meeting and we can go ahead and, the facts speak for themselves. And Alderman Williams, you like facts and statistics, that's them, they're there. They're on the tape. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Daniel Seitz, Branson. I am only going to speak on the amendment, and the reason I'm only going to speak on the amendment is because I want to make sure that the people behind us understand that when you vote on this amendment, if you vote in favor of it, you're not voting in favor of the entirety of this bill. There's still the opportunity for amendments to potentially remove the part that puts public comment at the end. I don't want them to think that you're doing something that they don't want you to do based on the fact that we're going out of order here, because the commenting should only be on the red line. The red line is an excellent amendment. It takes away an oath that I think shouldn't have been there. I think that was an agreement last week. Alderman Cooper, who had sponsored this particular item, even said, go ahead and remove the oath. Everybody was in agreement. So I just want to make sure that the people behind, whether they come up and speak now, they do understand that once this amendment passes, which can get adjudicated with rather quickly, you can pass this easy amendment. They'll still get the opportunity to speak on the underlying bill, and there is still opportunity to amend that underlying bill to potentially change that public commenting time. I just want to make that clear for the people who don't sit around political rooms like I do all the time and maybe don't understand process. Not because they don't know anything. You don't know what you don't know when it comes to this political process and this governmental process. So when you pass this amendment, it's a great amendment. It's an amendment that should be done to do away with the oath, and then the rest can be dealt with later. So I just wanted to make that very clear for the people who are here, that they understand that even if they don't speak right now, they will get an opportunity to speak on the underlying bill after this amendment is either passed or failed.
Thank you, Daniel. Any other speakers? Is that Pearl coming down? No. Pearl, I'm hoping to do that one day.
It's easier than it looks. Pearl Haining, Branson. I'm a resident and an employee of Branson vicinity. As far as the amendment goes, I think that's an excellent change. Not only because it preserves your time, but also I think that such an oath would be easily abused and not a very weighty commitment. Regarding the bill itself, I'm not exactly sure where that falls on the agenda.
Ruth, after we vote for this amendment, then we're going to go back to the original bill.
Okay, so after this amendment is passed, or
Fail, right.
yes, then the bill itself comes up
That's correct.
as a separate agenda item.
As
Perfect.
amended, yes.
Very good. Thank you.
You bet. Any other speakers? Hearing none, how about from the board? Any additional comments? Before we vote, I do want to reiterate what Daniel shared. When we vote on this, This vote is just to address these items in red. Once this vote is completed, then we're going to go back to the entire bill as written for discussion. So, that being said, we ready to vote? Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Harkness,
Yes.
Lucas,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Denham,
Yes.
Scholes,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
So we need to go on to this ordinance as amended. So, are there any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this bill as amended? And for everybody in the audience, that means the entire bill that's been amended. No, this is the board. Alex?
Mr. Mayor. All right, I will begin, since I had made this amendment, and just kind of give an overview of where I was at, listening to everybody speak, and just give you my current disposition. So going into this, I greatly value public input. This board should be responding to the tempo of this community. In doing the research and preparing for this role, I've heard it put both ways. In preparing for this specific amendment, the goal was to support the idea that the state of business of the city that for a given evening is driven by things like the sunshine law, noticing requirements, so that when you go to public comment, it's been an unwritten rule that's sometimes enforced and sometimes not, that you keep your comments to the agenda item. After listening where people are at and being true to that belief that a lot of you know me, I am sympathetic to that, and I'm leaning into what you're saying. And my goal here is to say, I understand the idea that the Taney and Stone County piece is going to help address the primary issue, and I am open-minded, and I'm still considering it. So you're loud and clear. I understand where you're coming from. I just hope you understand that I care about our community first. That is why I went after the oath requirement. That is why I've done many of the things I've done in public service in my life. So I hear you, and I'm weighing in, and I'm considering changing my current disposition.
So, in saying that, this started out as Clay Cooper's original bill. Clay Cooper wanted to limit the speakers allowed to include Taney County residents, Stone County residents, and businesses within the city limits of Branson. That's how this started out. Then, at the last meeting, Alex made a motion to include removing the public speaking from the beginning of the meeting to the end of the meeting. And in that meeting, that amendment was passed on this ordinance. So right now, this ordinance says Clay Cooper's proposal of the Stone, Taney, Branson business commenters only, and then Alex added in the moving it from the first of the meeting to the end of the meeting. So right now, the bill includes both. What I just heard Alex say was he was the one that amended it to include moving the speakers from the front of the meeting to the end of the meeting, and so he's taken that under consideration. Is that fair, Alex?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay. Any other board members have comments?
I'd like to make an amendment to move it, keep it where it is. Can I do that?
Keep what where he is.
Keep public comment where I originally had it in my original bill at the beginning of the meeting.
So Hillary, that would involve making an amendment to remove the amendment that was approved at the last meeting.
I would feel more comfortable with different phrasing.
Okay, I'm open. I'm open.
Point of order. Mr. Mayor, so since this item was continued from the previous meeting, you can't make an amendment to undo an amendment, right?
I took a shortcut to say whatever that language was that was approved, put up that same language and then put it up for vote again.
You can't. I mean, the point of Robert's rule says that,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
what's funny?
Oh, it was funny because what I was saying was not to go through a legal step and take the amendment from the last meeting that was passed and put that up and say, okay, we're going to undo it. I was merely saying, take the language that we amended and approved at the last meeting. Take that same language, amend this current bill to remove that.
Yeah, that's what isn't under our ordinances. So the proper procedure would be that you would have to have a motion to reconsider the amendment, and that motion would have to be made by a party that was in the prevailing party for the original amendment.
And then, Mr. Mayor, if I may, in spirit of Alderman Cooper, other colleagues in the community, I'm making said motion to reconsider the amendment that was previously considered in the last Board of Aldermen meeting.
Did the board understand that?
Does it need a second? Second.
Board understands that? Artie?
I just wanted to say that with respect to the amendment that is up there now, prior to being reconsidered, that if that amendment passed, I was going to request that we reconsider it at the next meeting. I think that's what Glenn was talking about.
Okay.
Make sure that we have an opportunity that if the motion, the amendment to move it to the end of the meeting passes, I'm going to request that we get the opportunity to reconsider it at the next meeting.
Okay, so right now, we have a motion and a second, right? And you understand what that motion and second is? Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
hold on, yeah. Go ahead, Ruth.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, Alex, Alderman Williams, this is your motion to reconsider, which would be removing it from what was amended. Just wanted to clarify and put it back to the beginning of the meeting.
It's my intent after listening to the public and upholding the role and the things that I've said, saying I'm going to place the people first, that I hear them. And so in doing that, yes, it's to reconsider the placement of public comment.
I want to thank you very much. I really appreciate, because I value this community, I value the input, and I would never, in my wildest dreams, think of imposing on any. We work for you. And I hope that you see that in this board. We work for you, you don't work for us, and we're very proud to serve you. Thank you so much for being here tonight, too, and I look forward to hearing some more comments.
Okay. So, to explain what's happening is the vote we're going to take now is to remove the amendment language that included having the public comment speaking section move from the front of the meeting to the end of the meeting.
Point of order.
Yes.
It's actually a vote to consider whether we're going to take a revote on the original amendment. So we're not actually voting to remove the amendment. We're voting to decide if we're going to revote that amendment.
Okay. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. So then, Alex, are you offering to remove that language?
So for clarity, I'm still very much in mind, of the mind that Alderman Cooper's original intent has to remain. So the parts of the bill discussing bringing focus to who is an eligible commenter must remain in place. I still believe that it's completely unnecessary to make our citizens swear an oath. That was a natural position I had in the previous meeting. The only thing that I'm reconsidering after listening to the public and going through this process, I've spoken to each of you individually. I've spoken to several people in the audience. I've gone through as many possible forums as I possibly could to make sure all the way up to the point that we are now, that I am very serious about listening to public input, and I'm open. If it doesn't meet the threshold, I just ask that we reconsider or be open-minded, that if the new provisions don't get us where we need to go, that we're not unopposed to looking at it again in the future. But that is my intent. Sorry for the words, but I just want everybody to clearly understand where I'm coming from with this.
Okay, so are you wanting to hear the public comments again?
It would only be appropriate. I know they're pretty loud and clear on what their disposition is, but I wouldn't, if there's something that somebody feels like is still unresolved, I think it would be appropriate given the topic.
Okay, so for those in the audience, if you haven't spoke for this, moving the public comment to the end of the meeting, if you haven't spoke, we'd like you to come up and share your thoughts. And if you have spoken, you had additional thoughts, you can come up and speak. That's what the alderman's asking for.
I have not changed my identity in the last 15 minutes. I would like to speak not necessarily and specifically in support of placing public comment at the end or the beginning, but to speak in support of this Board of Aldermen. Because what I've seen over several years of being involved in local politics is that our aldermen do prioritize the opinions and the needs of our citizens, our residents, our businesses, and I appreciate that. I have personally heard from several people who were very alarmed at the idea of moving public comment to the end of the meeting. It's difficult to take a position on where that should be. But I would speak in encouragement to you all and in reassurance to the public that we cannot have this discussion without also recognizing Section 2-70B, which states that the presiding officer may consider items out of sequence from the printed agenda upon a motion and affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members of the board present. That particular language is not a change that is being proposed as being changed. That is something that has been in this ordinance, and none of you are saying we should take that out. So I don't think that moving public comment or keeping it where it is actually impacts your value of the public. And I appreciate that you guys are leaving that section alone. That you actually do still say, whether public comment is at the beginning or the end, we, as the board, have given permission to the presiding officer to move public comment around, to move any of the items in the agenda around as needed based on the needs of your community. So with that said, we don't live in a society that is well-versed on parliamentary procedure. I myself have no background with parliamentary procedure, except that when I understood that it was important for me to come before the city council, I made sure that I learned how to do it appropriately. And it has been my dismay over the last several years to observe that few people take the time to do that same research. That's unfortunate for them because it limits their ability to communicate with you all regardless of where public comment is. And it's unfortunate for you all because a lot of times people come before you with a great deal of unwarranted disrespect. And I regret that for your sakes. So I thank you for your value of the Branson public, the residents and employees of the community, Stone and Taney County. And I believe that you guys are listening to the people. So I appreciate that. I think that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Pearl.
Hi, my name is Deborah Brand, and I currently live in the Second Ward. I have been in the Missouri area here since 2013, and so I spent 8 years in Stone County, and the rest of the time has been in Taney County. And I know most of you, either from, say, candidate forums or having worked with you personally back in the caucus in 2024, and I still don't understand Robert's rules, okay? I want to say that, you know, I commend all of you. First of all, I want to go back to the meeting where you guys were challenged with ICE and the contract with law enforcement here. Those of you that weren't here, what I want you to know that the aldermen that were in the midst of that meeting put up with an amazingly disrespectful crowd of personal comments. And it went on for an hour or more, and you very politely called into order those that were disrespectful, and you also took the time afterwards to give them a very polite and respectful response before you all voted. So I wanted to commend all of you that were there. I also want to say thank you to Alex for reconsidering the amendment that had been put in. And I still don't understand the whole process here, okay? But what I do want to let you know is that this morning I met with a group of individuals, 30 to sometimes 40 individuals, and we meet once a week. Multitude of ages, but most of us were 55 and older. I'm going to be 70 this year, so I'm certainly not a junior in any of this. But I mentioned this amendment, the fact that you were looking at moving public comment to the end, and also the fact that I had shared with some of them what I'd witnessed with the ICE contract council meeting. And they were really perplexed with why was there a multitude of individuals from, say, Christian County, Springfield area that were speaking. And I said, well, Branson has a history of listening to all. So I will say that I'm very glad that you're considering keeping it more local. I really defer to what's going to work best for, you know, Branson, hopefully Stone County, Taney County, and the city of Branson. And I really hope you all consider keeping the public comment to the beginning. I think that if someone is going to take the time to come and meet you face to face, it's important to them, very important to take their time out. And I'm a retired nurse. There is not a patient that I took care of that I didn't meet face to face and worked with them and met their individual needs. And I know that's your whole goal, to meet the needs of Branson. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Daniel Seitz, resident of Branson. I'm going to address my comments to the mayor, but my comments will actually be for council. So this is to you, Mr. Mayor. Just as a point of clarification on the procedure that was just used to reconsider the vote by which the bill passed. I don't know that you can make the reconsideration motion specifically on the amendment because you passed the amended bill. So you have to make a reconsideration motion. Well, you passed it on a first read, right? Okay. So in that case, is the amendment that was just made out of order on the bill because you've made a reconsideration motion to go back to the previous meeting and you've amended that bill now? That's the question that I just wanted to make sure that we're getting right, that amendment gets to stay on that you just passed, because I think everybody was in favor of the amendment to do away with the oath. They don't want to see that go away. And so that's just something that I want to make sure is understood, that gets to stay on, because while people don't want to see public comment at the end, they do want to see that oath gone away with, and they don't want to have some sort of procedural issue get in the way of that getting to stay on there. So that's all I've got to say about that.
Alderman Schultz, you'd like to address that?
Yeah, thank you. So the bill was not passed on a first read. We did an amendment, and then we were contemplating a second amendment that was much more complicated. So we moved to postpone the entire item to this meeting.
So the motion you were on is the amendment.
So
after the amendment itself, you didn't vote on the bill.
yeah, so we have not taken a vote on the overall bill. There was up till today, there was only the amendment on the moving these public speaking to the end. And so it's appropriate now to reconsider.
In that case, you can reconsider the motion on just the amendment,
reconsider
yeah.
that one motion.
Sure. In speaking in favor of the reconsideration motion that Alderman Williams made, I think it's very shrewd of him to do that. I think that it takes a lot of, I would say, courage sometimes to go and make a motion and change something and then go back and say, hey, I'm actually going to take another look at this, instead of just kind of standing ground and saying, no, I said what I said and I'm going to, stick with it. So I appreciate Alderman Williams being willing to do that. I think that it shows good working together with the board and the mayor, having this conversation again and making sure that it's done right. That way it doesn't have to be revisited again in a year or 2 years because something was done that's upset the apple cart. So I appreciate everybody's work on this.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cherry Webster. I live in Branson's Ward 3. Don't you like stats, especially Gary Groman's stats, pertinent stats? I'm not so sure that this is a public comment issue as it is an eligible speaker issue. I really appreciate removing the oath. I also appreciate your reconsideration, Alderman Williams, on the public comments. Considering moving the public comments, keeping them at the beginning. But you have said a couple of things over the last meeting or two about why you wanted to move them. And one of your comments was related to the agenda items have people that are attorneys and engineers who are billing their hours while they're sitting here. And it made me think, well, do the public commenters, aren't we also addressing city business? And because do I need to hire a $500 an hour lawyer? If he came and spoke, would he be allowed to speak at the beginning of the meeting because I paid an attorney to speak my public comments? I mean, you shouldn't be ranking residents as to how valuable their comments are, as to whether or not they're being billed. And so I just want you to understand that was not an appreciated comment. If you really want to reduce the meeting length time, there are ways to do that by screening the eligible voters. When the crazies came down for the Homeland Security issues, I was waiting for the police officer over there to escort someone out, but that didn't happen. But you might want to consider doing all of this screening before 6 o'clock. It's going to be labor intensive to put a staff person out there, but your IT department should be able to change the tablet questionnaire to put the agenda on there. Instead of just asking the person their name and what their comment title is, ask them what agenda item they're going to speak on. And if they can't come up with one, then the system says, doesn't allow them, tells them that they can't speak during public comments. Right now, well, for years, there's a sign out there that says that you don't sign up for public comments if you're going to speak on an agenda item, but new people don't see it. It's not even noticeable. And even if you've been here a couple of times, if you've never been a commenter, you still might not notice it or recognize it. But the tablet, like I say, you can post the agenda on the wall, you can post the agenda on the actual question sign-up kiosk, and then let the system tell the person, you're not an eligible voter, and you're not speaking during public comments, you'll have to wait till an agenda item. So I do appreciate your reconsideration of this. My first reaction was tyrants and despots do away with free speech in third world countries. But we can look at the UK right now. Those people don't have a First Amendment right, and they're being arrested because they're speaking out on criminals who are not getting arrested. So to me, if you moved it to the end of the meeting, I'd feel like I wasn't really exercising my First Amendment right. It'd be more like being moved to the back of the bus. So thank you for reconsidering that, and thank you very much for removing the oath. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. If the public comment stays in the beginning with the changes that you have, in my opinion, you have solved the public comment problem. You're controlling who is speaking. You're controlling what they can speak on and what they can't speak on. And you've also taken care of that ICE situation extending the meeting, because by having them being a qualified commenter, a lot of them wouldn't have been up here taking up your time. So again, I want to thank you. And Alex, particularly, I want to thank you for the process. Thank you so much.
Anybody else like to speak? Hearing none, any aldermen want to speak? Artie?
Just a point of clarification. I want to make sure that we all understand what we're going to be voting on. And that is that we are still making a motion to limit people that can come and speak during the public comment section to people from Taney and Stone County or a business owner. We are going to retain the public comment section to the beginning of the meeting, not the end. And the oath is done away with. And I think that pretty well says what we're trying to vote on now, right?
Any alderman want to address that? Glenn?
Yeah, just one comment from one of the speakers, the discussion of a First Amendment right. I get that we're used to that as citizens of the U.S., but this actually isn't a First Amendment issue, just as a matter of procedure. It's not. And I also think, because we're in a very unusual motion here that I don't think this board has dealt with in a fair amount of time, we should probably clarify that the status is we're back to the original motion is on the floor to move the public comments to the end of the meeting. So the vote that's about to happen is as if you're voting on that original amendment. And so if you want it at the end of the meeting, you should vote yes. If you want to leave it in the beginning of the meeting where it is right now, technically, you have to vote no. So I just wanted to offer that point of clarification. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Ashley.
So Glenn, thank you for that clarification. I myself am learning Robert's Rules of Orders as well, so that is helpful. I want to thank you guys for coming and speaking. I've counted at least 14 of you who have spoke on this matter, and I think it's important that you understand that your voice does matter, and I want you to know that I am very grateful that you're willing to come and say something, because it does help us figure out how to best serve you. And Ruth said it correctly, that we are here to work for you. You have elected us, and we represent you. And so for that, I just want to say that I'm very grateful that you guys all showed up to tell us what you think. I mean, that is what and how this is supposed to work, and I hear you as well, and I will be in favor of keeping it at the beginning for that reason. I do have a couple questions, and so I'm not sure who to direct them to, so I'm going to say them. I'm going to direct them to the mayor because he is our chairperson, and then you can help me figure out who answers. So the first question is, with this ordinance, though, I do know that, I do understand the parliamentary procedures are a little confusing for most of us as citizens, but in general, are we trying to still make sure that agenda items are spoken on during the agenda item and public comment is that written that way in the ordinance? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And then maybe answer, but I'll give it the second one. I know we've tossed around some different ideas on how to regulate signing in, what you're here for, what you want to talk about, what you agree with, what you don't agree with. And one of those ideas was a comment card. And so I'm going to just lean to the rest of everybody and Hillary, or maybe there's a way to make it to where city staff figures out the best way that we move forward, and making sure that it's very clear what we're all here for to help streamline and organize that process.
So,
Hillary?
yes, hi. Can I comment just on one item? I'm trying to find where it is, but I believe one of Alderman Williams' proposed amendments was to remove the language that we were adding to make public comment just for public comment and agenda items. So there was something that was written in there that was stricken because of the motion that's being reconsidered right now. And yes, so we're gonna find it. Yeah, right there. Nope, go. Okay, stop. Alderman Williams, do you know where it was?
It was co-located with the public comment section. It's referring to, it was a process. When we moved it to the end of the meeting, there was another provision that requires the speaker to abstain from talking about agenda items. That's the one you're talking about, right?
Yes, and
I can pull that up.
that was part of your original motion, so it's
Correct.
not showing in this current version that's up on the screen right now, because it was part
And
of
my
your
intent
amendment.
would be in the reconsideration, as we go through the votes that are coming, that goes away as well, or comes back into force when we move it back to the
would,
beginning.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for that clarification. So the motion to reconsider, that's part of the original motion that Alderman Williams made to amend the bill, was to move public comment to the end and to remove that specific section that added the language in where public comment was just for public comment and not for agenda items. So if you vote no, then that is still on the floor in the bill as amended.
It puts
Make
the-
it really complicated.
Yeah. I think the easiest way to understand that would be, it puts it back to Alderman Cooper's original bill with one change, which is the amendment we voted on tonight, which is the striking of the oath. So picture it as Alderman Cooper's bill in its original form, and the only change we've made is we've stripped the oath.
So Hillary,
Yes.
there's a lot of confusion on this.
Yes.
So I need you to clarify.
Oh, boy. I will do my best. So the motion that you guys are about to take is on Alderman Williams' original motion, but his motion was not just to move public comment from the beginning to the end of the meeting. It was also to strike language that we were proposing to add. And I don't have that language with me because it's not in the bill on the screen. I can find it if we have one moment, which might help.
Is that the one where the language was only significant if it was at the end, right? Is that what you're talking about?
No. If anybody wants to sing a song or talk amongst yourselves for just 1 second.
Do we have any
Mr.
singers on the board?
Mr. Mayor,
Ruth?
can I just want to make a comment here, just to refresh the audience on what took place at the last meeting. how important it is. I want to thank Gary Groman for writing an article to make people aware that this was actually taking place. And yes, I made quite a few phone calls because people were not aware that this was taking place. The vote at the last meeting to push public hearing to the end was a 4-2 vote, with Clay Cooper and myself voting no. So that's how we ended up here. I don't know if it can be done or not, but it has got so convoluted at this point. Is there a possibility, maybe this will have to go to our attorney, but is there a possibility of somehow striking this bill and coming out with a clean bill of what we've discussed tonight as a new ordinance, maybe deleting this ordinance and starting out fresh, because we all know what the intent is now. And again, I want to thank the community for coming out, because your voice really does matter. I did reach out, and I would never have voted yes to take your voice away.
So Hillary,
Yes.
how do you feel about that?
I believe that is up to the board to decide.
How does the
and we
board
would-
feel with what Ruth just said?
I'm comfortable if we simply understand that we are about to vote on the same motion to amend that we voted on the last time. And it puts back all the original languages as if we didn't amend the original bill, and all we're doing is striking the things about the oath. I think that should be satisfactory for me.
And if I may clarify, so what was also stricken, we had language that we were adding that said public comment shall not be allowed on any topic related to an agenda item published under the regular agenda until such time as the item shall be called on the agenda. When the item is called on the agenda, an eligible commenter wishing to comment on such item may address the board. So that's part of this motion as well, and that would go back into the proposed bill.
So that would all go back in. So it's just back to that point where the 5 people if this bill passes, the 5 people that spoke today at public comments would have been told you have to hold those comments until that item on the agenda. Because we had 5 people that spoke about the public speaking issue. So they would, under this ordinance, if we vote down this amendment and then the balance of the ordinance passes, that will be in place.
That's right. I still feel that this needs more clarity before we vote on it.
I'm comfortable with what,
Are you?
I mean, with what Glenn, I mean, it's, are you?
Okay?
Mr.
Yep. Ruth?
Don't know when this would be appropriate timing, but move to table this item so that we can have discussion. And then that way the public will know when we have the proper ordinance on the table to vote on, and they have the opportunity to come back and speak.
It would be a motion to postpone, but don't forget, we've got a second reading coming up too, where we'll have a clean copy of this, and if anybody has any concerns about it, you can look at it, pull it down from the consent agenda and do further modifications.
If we tabled it indefinitely, couldn't it?
No, just
If we tabled it indefinitely
postpone.
to get rid of the ordinance as its whole and start from fresh.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ashley.
I feel comfortable with the way it is. If we vote no, that is going to keep public comment at the beginning of the meeting, and that is going to also limit it to Stone and Taney counties, and that is also going to be striking the oath. So my understanding, if that is correct, I'm very comfortable with voting that tonight.
Hillary, is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. So, the board, you comfortable with this? Alex?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, it would be, I think, appropriate, given the topic, if it's in order to have, if there's anybody in the community that feels that they're confused, because that's who really we should be most worried about. If they're out there and they're confused and worried about what we're going to do, that's what I think, given the topic again, and being very sensitive and aware of what's going on out there, is there anybody, I can't ask you, but I would ask that we make sure that if they are not concerned, I am not concerned, because it's been stated a few times by 2 or 3 different colleagues that they understand what the intent is.
Okay, that's a very fair question. So is there anybody in the audience unclear of what we're about to vote on? Yes, come up, please.
Very unclear about what you're going to vote on this evening. My name is Judy Isaacson. I've been here for 35 years. And I compliment you for calling your people and letting them know what is going on. Because actually, I didn't know what was actually taking place tonight.
Yes.
But what do we do when we have a situation and we want to get it taken care of? If there's something in our ward that's going on that shouldn't be going on, I can't go to this alderman because I'm not getting any action. Not at all. I have come to Mr. Stites. When he was up here, that was 6 months ago. It hadn't been taken care of. I came in 2 weeks ago, and he passed me off to Christina, which is up in the office up there. She said, I will help you. I said, no, you can't help me. Because there's a block there, they stopped you, so you can't do what you gotta do. There is a business in our area that needs to be out of our area, and nobody has taken heed to it.
Okay, excuse
And
me.
maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but this is the only way we can get it out there because it's in our ward,
Okay, that,
and our alderman, he doesn't really take any heed. He hasn't called or nothing. I've called him,
okay.
don't
let
get
me-
no action.
Let me interrupt if I can. What you're talking about, if your alderman's not responding, then you come here during public comment and share what your concern is to the entire board. And that's at the very beginning of the meeting. But right now, what we're talking about is on this particular bill.
But I wish that the comments would be at the beginning instead of the end.
That's right, that's what we're discussing right now.
But I do need to have some help in finding out what I can do.
Okay, Kathy?
Thank you. Is it Mrs. Isaacson, did you
Uh-huh.
say? Yes, ma'am. I'm going to have Alex Gerard, who's the number 2 here at the city, just connect with you out in the hallway so we can find out what the issues are that you're concerned about, and let's see if we can get to the bottom of it for
Because
you.
I've been working on this for 6 months.
Yeah, I have no idea what the issues are, but he's going to dive right to the deep end with you. We'll get it figured out, okay?
That's fine.
Thank you,
Great.
ma'am.
Thank
I've
you.
been kicked out before.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Once again, State Representative Brian Seitz, you guys have done a great job this evening. I think you're going to satisfy everyone by keeping the public comment at the beginning, allowing them to speak on agenda items when they come up, and limiting to Branson, Taney County residents and so forth, Branson West, and business owners. So I think you've done a great job. I think it's a great compromise, and that's what government in a representative republic is all about. So you've done a great job this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, comments, questions from the board? So we're clear? Hillary, let's take a roll call vote.
Harkness?
No.
Lucas? Cooper?
No.
Denham?
No.
Schultz?
No.
Williams?
No.
The result of the vote is 6 noes, motion fails. And now we're back to the bill as amended. Or the original motion, which is just approving the bill. Yeah, it's the bill as amended, because it includes removing the oath as well. So we need to take one more vote on the bill as amended.
Okay, but this, what we're voting on, does not change what the bill is that we've approved, which means the motion, the public comments at the beginning, no oath is required, and it's for Taney, Stone, and Branson businesses only. That's what we're about to vote on. Okay? Glenn?
And I would just add, that was a good summary. I would just add the other thing for clarity is that public speaking cannot address topics that are on the agenda.
That's right. Okay. Are we clear on that? So let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you for coming out and sharing your opinions.
Your Honor, the next item is a presentation on partnership opportunity between the city, CVB, and TCED.
So we'll get a report from Heather Herman.
So we can start with a presentation. There was this little thing that happened on June 14th on Flag Day where we set a Guinness World Record. So we wanted to officially present you all with the actual certificate that came from Guinness World Records, the official adjudicator who was here. So this is for you all to hang at City Hall.
Would you show the audience? You want to hold that there? Why don't we get a group photo? Is that everybody in a photo, please? Heather, you can hold on to the front. Yeah. Come on, Pam. It's a pretty big deal. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Heather. You just, yeah.
All right, now on to a completely different topic. We're going to talk about the film industry and Branson and what that means for us. So we have a little bit of information that has come out about filming in Missouri and what that means. And just recently, Hollywood Finds Missouri is a piece that came out in the Como Business Times. And you can see the quote there that they talk about, you know, some of the great things, the natural diversity, the rolling plains. And then they ended it with, it's a cinematographer's dream, talking about Missouri and what filming is like in our state. And because of that, we see a lot of opportunity, and you've obviously heard about some of the projects that we've had. And we would like to join in with the rest of the state and see what we can do to be more competitive, to get more projects here. And we know that the competition is big. If you're familiar at all with the film industry in the United States and how each different state is set up in terms of funding, there's a lot of competition. Texas has just passed more than $300 million annually for the film industry, and Georgia is officially no limit on the amount of funding that they have for the film industry. And then just as a smaller note, Illinois has $40 million, but they're willing to adjust it year after year. In Missouri, it's $16 million, and that is equally divided, $8 million for films and $8 million for TV, scripted series, reality shows. And right now, this year, the state of Missouri ran out of money for the film incentive in May. So it's a hot commodity, but there's not enough of it. But we see a lot of opportunity for our area, and that's what we're going to share. And you may be wondering why filming. If we look at some of the really robust studies that have been done, specifically with Expedia and TripAdvisor, we can see that people are picking their locations for vacation based on what they're seeing, whether it be on the big screen or the small screen. And they're looking for places to go based on what they see. And some examples that we threw in there, even though The Walking Dead may not be your show of choice, it's not mine, it scares me. But if we look at that town in Georgia that it was filmed in, it started with only 5 storefronts when that series was first filmed. And now there's over 150 storefronts. That's what that's done to that community. And just as another example, Crazy Rich Asians, when that movie debuted in 2018, their organic search tripled in the United States for the destinations where that movie was filmed. And since organic search is something that I look at every day, I can tell you that that's a priceless thing to have, is triple your search based on something that someone saw on a screen. We can't pay for that. We can, it's really, really expensive. It also means growth for the state of Missouri. It means jobs, it means economic impact, it means direct spending, and it impacts infrastructure. So when we consider different locations where filming takes place, if they come into an area, just as an example, the movie that we had, Ozark Mountain Christmas, that will debut here in Branson in November, when they came in January and they filmed, they had a lot of filming that took place at the Pie Safe. And working with the owner of the Pie Safe, she opened up her doors, she brought out all of her Christmas decorations in January, and the set team came and decorated. And then they also shopped locally, went and bought more decorations, and infused those into her store to make it look even more Christmassy. They also, that film crew was here for over 3 weeks. They needed things to do. They needed stuff to keep them busy on the weekends when they weren't filming. They went to all sorts of locations across our destination. They ate out at our restaurants. They shopped. All of the set clothes, they buy that at our local Tanger outlet because they're cheaper clothes and they can use them for sets. So there's an economic boom for sure, but then it's also a piece of the component that we don't think about is infrastructure. When a set comes into town and they need to design something or build something, they go to our local hardware store, they buy the equipment, they hire local contractors, they build what they need. But it also provides us with an opportunity for more. So if they hear of more projects coming and they see and they experience how film-friendly we are, easy to work with, easy to negotiate with, and get their project here, it encourages other businesses to potentially invest in our area, expand what they're doing, and grow. Then we think about the tourism piece. And just this year, we'll have 3 movies that have been filmed in Branson by the time we get to Christmas. That provides us with an opportunity. You know that we have our Ozark Mountain Christmas Pass that is done all virtually on an app. We have the opportunity to add a film app as well. We can have our own movie trail. Our own film trail where people come into Branson and they check in at the Pie Safe and they take their selfie and they're able to say, this is where an Ozark Mountain Christmas was filmed. They go down to the historic Owens Theater and they say, this is where those stars stood on that stage. And they take their picture and they check in. They're automatically entered to win prizes. Their social content is filtered into the hashtags that we search, and it comes across our feed, across our website with the tools and the technology that we've added. Those are things that we're already doing with the Frozen Treat Trail, with the American Pie Way, with Ozark Mountain Christmas Pass. It's a given that we create our own film trail. And the great thing about it, with this technology that we use, it's called Bandwango, it's super affordable. It's easy, and we can start making this film trail available by January of next year. So we'll be ready when the film launches and we have that debut on November 6th. Come January, people are going to be able to find all the locations where these films have started. And what we are in front of you asking for today is outlined on the slide above. And we've already made this presentation to the Branson Lakes Tourism Community Enhancement District, the TCED, and they have already agreed to the investment on their side. What that means is we're looking at an exclusive partnership with Great American Media. They're the ones who brought in Ozark Mountain Christmas, the movie, in January. And that $750,000 partnership will be an annual agreement, $750,000 each year for the next 3 years, guaranteeing at least 2 movies from that film organization each year. So 6 movies total. It also includes $500,000 in advertising that is already included in the advertising budget annually that we do with them across all of their platforms. It also includes digital billboards, digital placement on their website, as well as connected TV and traditional TV advertising. And what we're looking to do is also add $750,000 to establish Branson as a film-friendly destination, which means that we would have the flexibility and the freedom to be able to not only market, promote the destination in the film industry, but recruit the films and the projects that we want here. To go and look for those producers who have the right projects that fit our destination, whether that be a reality fishing show for Discovery Channel, or a scripted series that has certain story elements that fit our audience and what we represent, and being able to hand-pick the projects that we feel would be the best representation of our destination as a whole. We have another movie that's coming in September that will be an outdoor focus. It'll be focused more on the lake. It'll be a marina love story, and the boy might get to kiss the girl at the end. And we know that we have 4 seasons a year. We don't need to just tell a Christmas story. We can tell about our beautiful fall seasons that we have and our Fall Fest downtown and showcase what it looks like as a Hallmark movie set. We've got a spring season that is spectacular that we all know and love. We have a summer season that is just screaming for a story about a family vacation. So we have a lot to tell, and we feel like this is a wise investment when we start to look at how we've shifted away from the Kansas City Chiefs partnership and look at how this is something tangible that helps us drive visitation, that we can measure through pixel placement on all the advertising that we place on these networks, but then also be able to gauge what is happening when things air and when they show, and then what that means for traffic coming in. So we're asking for consideration and for you all to think over the next time period of what a $1 million annual investment beginning in January would look like to help Branson become the newest film-friendly destination in the state of Missouri.
So Heather, for clarification, those 3 bullet points total $2 million a year. So your request is $1 million from the city
Correct.
and $1 million from TCED.
And they have committed to that.
Oh, okay, I was going to ask you, so you've proposed this to TCED, and they voted to approve this $1 million?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, they've started with some of that initial investment this year so that we can bring the film here in September to film for that lakeside love story.
What additional information did you provide TCD for them to make this commitment?
Well, historically, we feel like we've shown proof of concept. The fact that the pitch was made to Great American Media. I looked back at when I was hired, Brad Thomas from Silver Dollar City, when I interviewed, he mentioned at least 3 times that we needed a movie in this destination. And then I did a tour with him of Silver Dollar City during my interview, and he talked about how if only we got a movie, we just need a movie. And then I went back and watched all of the TCD meetings over a 2-year period, and that should be a Guinness World Record. So
For pain tolerance?
all of the above. But there was mention multiple times if we just had a movie and if we just partnered with Great American Media. So last year in August, I reached out to their VP of Media, just like a cold outreach on LinkedIn, and I was like, hey, your name's Heather, my name's Heather too. We should know each other, and I would really like to see if we could do a movie deal, that just, and literally 4 days later, I had my first Teams call with Bill Abbott, the president of Great American Media, and his leadership team. And we struck up a partnership with some additional funds that TCED had last year to invest, and we did a whole social media takeover promoting their Christmas movies. And Then Bill Abbott and his team came to College of the Ozarks for a lunch, and Pam and I got to meet them in person. And after we left that lunch, I called Nick Gavell at Silver Dollar City, and I was like, send me your pitch deck for when you pitched Hallmark. And he's like, yeah, go for it. Do whatever you need to do. So I sent it to Bill, and I was like, you may think I'm crazy, but we really want a movie here. So you tell me, read the pitch deck, tell me what you want, and what's it going to take. And he wrote back on November 18th and said, I don't want to wait another year. I want a movie here in January. And that's how fast we got the Ozark Mountain Christmas movie to come in January. And that was with no contract. That was with no written agreement. That was with no financial commitment at all. It was literally, he saw what Branson represents, and he saw the authenticity of the faith family flag commitment. And he said, we're a perfect match. Great American Media and Branson go hand in hand. So his team came, they did the movie, and the production team told us that this was the easiest project and team that they had ever worked with. This destination was so film friendly. And then the word started to get out. People started to call us and like, oh, we have a project, we have a project. I mean, I was getting calls from people with motion pictures that were like, we'll move it from, one guy wanted to move his movie from Kansas City to Branson because he was getting kicked out of his location because of the FIFA World Cup. But we couldn't find 2 basketball courts that would fit during the time frame that they needed to film this major motion picture. Believe me, I tried. And then we got the next movie, A Country Kind of Christmas, that had originally called itself Ozark Mountain Christmas. They actually filed their LLC, and those 2 movies got in a spat with each other. Like, well, we have it first. Well, no, we have it. So their LLC is Ozark Mountain Christmas, but the movie's going to be called A Country Kind of Christmas. And that one, there's actually like, they're deciding, is it going to be Hallmark, is it going to be a Lifetime, is it going to be Great American Media? We want that kind of challenge. Well, TCD was like, we don't have these funds to invest in the Chiefs any longer. That ended, as we all know, in May. Like, find something else. So they said, why not look at film? So I took my marching orders. We left that meeting, and I reached out to Bill Abbott, and I said, what would it take? Here's how much money we could invest if we could do this. We want this many movies a year, and we want to be able to dictate what the topic is, where you film, that you're filming in Branson, that you're hiring locals, because locals love to be extras in the movies, and we get to help you name it as well. And by the way, we threw out a storyline for them too. Well, they came back and said, yes, we want this. So it really is about relationship building and showing that our alignment is there for who we are and what we represent, and staying true to that, and finding the right network who believes in it also. And I know there has been some question about, well, it's an exclusive agreement with this partnership with Great American Media. It's exclusive in that we won't be going to Hallmark and saying we want the exact same thing. That's where the exclusivity lies. We want this unique partnership because we want them to write their press release and say that they have this exclusive partnership with a destination that has not been done before in their history or in our history. So we want that. It doesn't exclude us from being able to say, oh, there's a project that wants to come in and it could be sold to Hallmark, or there's a project that's coming in and it could be sold to Netflix. We're not hand-tied on that. This type of agreement we will commit to for a 3-year period. That's probably way more than you wanted.
Any questions from the board? Yes, Alex?
Mr. Herman, would you say, because I've had the pleasure of working with you in other capacities, would you say that this opportunity gives us more measurable opportunities to say where the marketing tax dollars are going and what's coming back from them, as opposed to not going after previous deals, but being responsive to public feedback, maybe not super excited about the amount of dollars that were going in the previous deal with a lack of measurable return?
100%. And the beauty of just the advertising component itself, the fact that we can drop pixel placement on those ads and be able to show where they're served and who has been served those ads, when they book a trip, when they come to Branson, how much they spend, how long they stay. The data is there. In the beginning of the chief's agreement, there wasn't anything remotely close to that. We started using pixel placement and data capture towards the end, but at that point, it wasn't a sound investment compared to this.
So this would be a responsible way to move forward with our tax dollars and our limited precious marketing funds towards something that's measurable that we can show the public where it's going.
I agree, and with the potential that it has for creating an actual film office that's in our destination, as well as creating a workforce for it. There's training that goes with it. There's an educational component that comes with it. There's business resources. It's literally opening up another channel for economic development within our destination.
Thank you for all you do. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Any other?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. I am curious, kind of along the same lines, but maybe worded different, so your answer might be similar. But yeah, do we have results from the first movie to help quantify that this is a viable way to go? Is this coming from our infrastructure marketing dollars? And if that's the case, is there a world where we're supposed to open that to the public to get input on what they think? And I know tonight we're not voting on this, you're making a presentation, but we will have to ask ourselves these questions soon.
So the movie hasn't come out yet. It'll be out November 6th, and Branson will actually be the first eyes and ears on the movie. We'll be the first place to have it seen with that red carpet premiere, and then it will debut to the rest of the Great American Media Network and their worldwide audience the following day. And once that starts to happen, the advertising actually will take place before that. We're partnering with them to broadcast the debut and to talk about this is when it's going to air. So as soon as those ads start being placed, the pixel is placed, and we start tracking and converting all of the ads from there, and then the measurement begins to take place. And that'll be the same thing with the movie itself. Once it airs, you start to hear people talking about how they're planning a trip based on what they saw, and it takes off from there.
Any other aldermen?
Heather, you are the gift that just keeps giving. Thank you so much. Your marketing skills are absolutely brilliant. And thank you for making this city shine so well. Pam, Yancey, the same to you. We are really blessed to have both of you making Branson look so good and so much fun for all of our residents as well, to be able to take place being extras, and it's how fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, a good storyline would be like a guy from Texas, 40 years, country singer in Branson. Just throwing that out there.
Believe me, you're on my short list. I have a wish list of all the places and all the stories that we can tell.
Just confirming I'm on the same short list.
Yes, and I mean, you're going to be,
On the
save the
dance
date,
floor.
November 6th. He made his debut, Ozark
Any-
Mountain Christmas.
Any other aldermen? Oh, Kathy, you had something?
Heather, thank you for this. And when Pam and Heather first brought this idea to me, I knew that this was a very big endeavor and a very ambitious move for our destination. So that's why I'm thankful she was able to come here tonight and share this with you all. There's a couple of things, and I'm just going to air them because some people in the community are going to be thinking them. So one of the things is, since it's an equal partnership that you're proposing between TCED and the city, how are you going to maneuver and navigate that we'll get 50% of the movie time that's in the city proper and 50% can be outside the city proper, so we don't have these inter-family Hatfield and McCoy wars that might start again as a result of people, counting beans, right? Like how many pictures was there of Table Rock versus downtown, et cetera. So, and I'm not even expecting you to answer that because I wouldn't put you on the spot like that. But just to say, I think we all going into this, if you all decide that's something you want to pursue, is something that we're going to have to watch closely, is to make sure contractual language is appropriate, right? Is there accountability for the movie company if they don't produce those movies? What's the mechanism there to hold them accountable to make sure that they fulfill their end of the bargain? But the bigger thing I worry about is kind of starting to go backwards potentially if we don't watch some of those markers when it comes to who gets enough screen time? Is it inside the city or the places outside?
Well, and I think the way that we look at this, there's a couple of options. The Great American Media Agreement could be viewed as the TCEDs because it's going through them. The agreement is going through Explore Branson Tourism, and it goes through their board for approval. The $1 million from the city investment and then the advertising component, it could be viewed as these are the funds that are being used to attract new projects outside of that. So it could be a very clear line of demarcation if we needed to do it that way. Or it could be that you want the advertising component split with the city piece. And so there are ways to work on that. But I will say the Great American Media Agreement is something that has been put in front of the TCED board for their portion. And the 750, they've committed for that piece. So I think that if that brings any sort of comfort, that could be how that's looked at. And I do think that we have gotten to a point where on that board, we're not looking and counting the time any longer. You know, when I first started, it was literally with like a stopwatch of you showed this for so long on the commercials. I don't feel like we're at that point anymore. We even got kayaks added back into the commercials. It's a huge win. So it's, you know, we've made a lot of progress, and I think that is because we've been transparent and shown what we're doing. Yeah.
That's a valid, that's a valid point,
Yeah.
and that's a valid response. You know what I mean? Because leadership was different
Yeah.
when all that was going on. And I think that cleared a lot of that up. But
Yeah. Anybody in the audience want to speak to this?
Daniel Meenan, Ward 3. I just want to say this is an excellent opportunity to be nationally advertising the city of Branson, but we're tying up essentially $3 million over the course of 3 years and $3 million of TCD money for 3 years for 6 guaranteed films. Are we going to have the ability to analyze that every year to see if the return on investment is still there year over year, or are we going off of the contractual obligation of 6 guaranteed films over 3 years, and where the pieces fall is where they fall?
No, this is a partnership. It's a partnership between Great American Media and the TCED, and the commitment is $750,000 for the actual films that helps with production on their side for 2 movies per year for 3 years, and it's reviewed annually. This isn't the contract right here, obviously. It's multiple pages. And then the advertising component is actually already part of our budget, the $500,000. And that captures far more than just for the specific 2 movies. That gets us through promoting Christmas in July and then our entire Ozark Mountain Christmas season in the year. So it's not just about marketing movies on their channels, it's promoting us as a destination. So there's a lot more to it than just 2 movies. And then the amount of funds that would be allocated for recruiting and getting new projects is obviously going to be fluid. If we don't spend $1 million in a year, then the city's not rolling it over to us and saying, you keep that for another year. Those will be funds that the city determines what they're used for. Much like if we don't spend all of our budget for marketing that we do for the city right now, we don't keep it. It stays with the city. And they do what they need to do with it. So it's not as clear cut as here's all the money that we're taking and we're spending every single last penny or dime. It's reviewed monthly, daily, actually.
Right. Thank you. I just wanted to kind of clarify that because I know there was a comment from Alderman Williams about I saw comments floating around from the public about the Chiefs agreement, and there wasn't a clear return on investment kind of vocalized as far as how much foot traffic we got. I know there was a lot of grief about that, and I appreciate the comment about having the trackers and having the ability to see the clicks and the increased foot traffic that these will generate as far as revenue.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Once again, State Representative Brian Seitz. When I left the Capitol in January, I promised this is exactly what I was not going to do, was I was wanting to sit back and just watch. This is something that's in my wheelhouse, and I had to Google it to remind myself that in 2023, I'm the one who passed the SHOMO Act in the House of Representatives. It was my initial legislation that I presented to the Tourism Committee, and then now Senator Gregory teamed up with me, as well as Travis Smith, who was a representative from the Forsyth area a couple years ago. We teamed up to pass this legislation. I even had to fight with my own party because the movie film tax credit had been inactive for 10 years. Until I got there and stood on the House floor and then off to the side arguing with my fellow conservative Republicans that this is something that we need. And yes, in the back of my mind, and they always hear me mention on the floor, Branson, Missouri, because this is who I represent. I warned them before they passed it in 2020 when I first got elected about a show called Kansas City Kings starring Sylvester Stallone. I said, if we don't get a tax, some sort of incentive to bring the film industry to Missouri, they're going to go to Georgia, Texas, or Oklahoma. And guess what Kansas City Kings became? It became Tulsa Kings, one of the #1 rated shows on cable. I warned them about that, and then the next year I used that information to help them pass this legislation. There is a sunset that was built in that I did not call for, that was built in by the Senate. This whole thing, because we're having budget cuts at the state right now, we cut $4 billion, we're going to have to cut another $4 to $5 billion next year. This sort of legislation is on the chopping block. So as you determine your list of legislative priorities, if we're going to increase it from the 16, I think it's 16 million that's current, and we're going to try to increase it, they gave that to Representative Wellenkamp. And I started hearing this legislation. I thought, what? I've heard this before. Oh yeah, it was coming out of my lips. And it failed. It failed miserably. So if you want a heavy hitter to increase the amount of money that's going to be used by the state to film projects here, and I can narrowly tailor it and bring stuff down to Branson, make this one of the legislative priorities, that we remove the sunset or extend the sunset, and I can attempt, I've only got 2 years left to do this, and it took 4 years to get it in play the first time. I can attempt to get that money increased so that we can do something like this and that would be beneficial to Branson. So I'm asking you that once I'm presented those priorities, you know I pre-file bills on December 1st. I can do this. I can build the coalition to try to get this done in a very adversarial year as far as budgetary spending and tax credits and so forth. A lot of them are going to go away. This is one that needs to stay because it makes the state money. Every dollar that's spent on films, TV shows, entertainment, and so forth has a massive return for the state, and I am on the State Board of Tourism. I'm one of 2 elected officials, so I have the ear. Currently, I'm still the chairman of the Tourism Committee. I think they're going to bump me up next year, but I'll still be involved in tourism. So make this a legislative priority. And if you decide to go this direction, I can help with that and make it successful as I've done in the past. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Seitz. Anybody else in the audience? Marshall?
Can I just bring it to everybody's attention that she got 2 major corporations to fight over Ozark Mountain Christmas? That's quite remarkable. Good job, Heather. So some of my favorite projects have been PBS's documentaries, like the one they did on the history of Branson, the one they just did on Shad Heller. So maybe as we consider TV projects as well, we're considering documentary films, you know. I think maybe reality shows and some of the Hallmark type movies might sell. But I could think of a documentary on the architectural history of our theaters, of our 75 incredible music venues that have existed in this town for years and years, or a documentary on the Branson boom, things like that. So just my suggestion that we look towards documentary films as well when we're thinking of this holistically. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Any other members of the board? Yep, so we're not voting on this. We're here to say thank you, Heather, very much for bringing this to for our consideration.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we've been at it 2 hours. Could we have a 10-minute recess,
I was just
please?
gonna do that, yep. We're gonna have a 10-minute recess and I don't have a clock. start taking our seats, please? I'm going to call this meeting back to order. Madam Clerk?
Your Honor, the next item is a presentation from the Fire Department providing a brief overview of 2025 accomplishments and current initiatives for 2026.
We'll begin with a report from Acting Chief Houston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity just to be in front of you this evening. Doing what I love doing anyway is bragging on our fire department.
A lot to brag on.
I'm going to scroll for you, Chief.
Okay.
I apologize. We got some technical. We'll make it. Just say next slide, and we'll get to the next slide.
All right, next slide, please. As you know, we operate in 5 divisions within the fire department. I'm going to touch briefly on each one of those just to give you an idea of what's been going on in 2025 and kind of where we're heading in 2026. I will say this is a terrible way to start a presentation, but 2025 we started off kind of rough. In February 24th of 2025, we began the year with a tragedy with several of our fire members were injured when they were caught in an explosion during a routine call. And I will say that it was kind of a crucial moment for us as firefighters. When you take that oath of office, you expect you to have your mettle challenged from time to time. But as a chief officer, for me, it rocked me back on my heels. I will say for a little while. But for one reason, it rocked me back on my heels is because I thought I'd just lost a bunch of firefighters in one fell swoop, and that really scared me. But the other side of that coin was what I saw that day. Those firefighters, when they picked themselves back up and dusted themselves off and went right back into the fight, I could not have been more proud to watch that happen. They showed tremendous grit and continued the mission until the problem was solved. And I'm very proud of them for that. What that did, though, as we dealt with those injuries that took place was we had to turn our focus to some resiliency and growing our mental health programs. They were shook up. And so it took us some time to work through peer counseling and doing some debriefing sessions with them, some even to the point of professional clinicians. And so we've really leaned into that and have built a robust system that I think is a fantastic program now for the mental health of our firefighters. So that was a positive that came out of the ashes of that fire. We had already put on Station 4 and did the staffing for that. And so as we looked at 2025 and building the budget and where we were going for that year, we knew that we wanted to pump the brakes just a little bit and focus more on maintenance and taking care of what we had. So we did a lot of projects, just listed a couple of there for you. Station 2 water infiltration was a big issue that we had. We had a lot of water infiltration coming into the station. That created a rather large remodel project. And we're proud to be in that fire station today because it has turned out beautifully. We did a concrete replacement out of Fire Station 3, all the concrete driveway that goes around. It takes a lot of concrete to go around the fire station. That was just about a gravel drive. And so we had to replace all of that. And So those are just a couple of examples. We've done some roofs and those types of things, but we really wanted to focus on maintaining, what we currently had and making sure that it was top notch. We've continued our hiring practices. As we started the process as we put on Station 4 and had 12 firefighters. It was kind of hard to come up with all at once. So it took us several testing processes to do that. And then we've also had older guys that are aging out and retiring from the organization. So we've had a continuous cycle of hiring firefighters, it seems like. Which brings me to a point that right now, this was kind of alarming to me at first whenever I looked at it, that 50% of our personnel have been here under 5 years. It took me back to when I first started. When I first started with the organization, we were a very small department, and we had only 15, 20 firefighters, and we were all young and green. But we had a huge passion for protecting this community, and we dove in to do everything that we could to learn and grow, and we were just like sponges. That's the same passion that I see in these firefighters today. They're coming in, and they may have not been here for very many years, but the passion that they have and the aggression that they have to train themselves and master their craft and be the best that they can possibly be for the citizens of this community just amazes me. So we are in good hands. Next slide, please. So the operations division, this is where the rubber meets the road. It's the guys on the trucks. Quite literally, the rubber meets the road. We had 5,300 calls in 2025. If you notice, the overall calls over from 2023 to 2025 started to decline. We had changed some response policies and procedures and was really looking at efficiency. But even with those policies and procedures in place, now we are still climbing rapidly again. We hit 5,300 calls in 2025. 159 of those is listed as fires. I will tell you that is 16 of those were structure fires. The rest were other types of fires, whether it's vehicle fires or vegetation fires, those types of things. The one thing that I want to draw your attention to is the dollar loss versus dollar saved. We had a loss of $14,907,195. 13 million of that was that incident that I talked about at the very beginning of this presentation. So when you take that one incident out of there, we're just under $2 million loss for the year. However, I really like to look at that number saved, which was over $19 million that we saved through the firefighters' efforts in battling those blazes. Some of the interesting stats that I just threw in there was the busiest month is July. Busiest day for the fire department is Saturday, and the busiest station is Station 3 out on the west end. So, Alderman Cooper, I'm not sure what you're doing out there at your theater, but you're turning up the heat apparently.
It's a hot show.
Yeah. The other thing that we're proud of is the average response time in 2025 was 4 minutes and 40 seconds to get from the fire station to the incident. The reason why we're proud of that is because that number had been climbing for the past few years. It had gotten up over 5 minutes and close to 6 minutes at times. But when we added Station 4, that made a world of difference, and it brought down that average time. That was an area that just had a long response time to get there. And so we're very proud of the fact that helped level the playing field and brought that back down to a reasonable number. And I think that we can continue to drive that down in the future. Next slide. So the Fire Training and Safety Division, obviously with all those guys that are under 5 years, are spending a lot of time in training, continuing to focus on training for excellence with an emphasis on proficiency. We don't just train to get certificates and go through a class. We go through to make sure that they can't get it wrong. And that's what they spend a lot of time doing. Developing new firefighters over the last year has been a huge push. The average training hours for our personnel were just over 240 hours per person. But we had several of our personnel that hit well over 400 hours, close to 500 hours of training for the year. They've spent a lot of time doing exactly that. The total hours, if you could scroll down just a little bit, the total hours for the training was 12,523 man hours that we put into training alone. These folks that are on the fire department are not just training to be average. They're training to be excellent at what they do. They're masters of their craft, And they want to make sure that, we always talk about if we're going to pass a test, we don't want to aim for the 70% it takes to pass. We want to aim for 100%. Otherwise, we want to know what the 30% is that you don't know, right? And they take that very serious. Our Fire Prevention Division, overall, that number is 4,723 touches when it comes to inspections, plan reviews, and permitting. You can see that with business license inspections, that takes up an awful lot of their time. They did 2,500 business license inspections. The lodging inspections, which was a great initiative, they've been banging that out with 248 inspections on our lodging. The fire inspections there on the second line, those are new construction, so that ties in also with the fire plan reviews that they've done. And then you see that we've also done several burn permits and pyrotechnic shows for the year as well. They've been a busy division. The one thing that we are proud of, besides all of those inspections, and yes, we have to do the code enforcement and those types of things, but we also want to make sure that we're educating our public. And so we've done 25 public education programs, assemblies, and classes. That's most of the time getting into the schools and dealing with the kids. We know that whatever message we share with the kids, it goes back home and touches all the family as well. So we had 2,500 participants in all of those classes, and we're very proud of that. This was a year where we hired 2 new fire prevention officers as trainees. It's the first time we'd ever done that. We usually had them certified whenever they came to us. We tried that route, and we were having a difficult time trying to get someone who was completely qualified to fill those positions. So we looked at those requirements for the position and went out for some trainees. And I'm proud to say that the 2 guys that we hired have done a fantastic job. Not only have they been doing on-the-job training, but they've also been going to class, so they'll spend time in Jeff City or wherever the class is being held, and getting their certification to become state-certified fire inspectors and fire investigators. And they have just wrapped those classes up just this week. So they've done a fantastic job, though, in that division. And I also want to just point out that Division Chief Patterson, who runs the Fire Prevention Division, was appointed the Regional Director of the Fire Marshals Association of Missouri. So he's really banging it out in that division, and I appreciate everything that he's doing. His leadership there is what's driving his 2 inspectors to do great stuff out there in the community, and we're hearing nothing but good feedback from the community, I might add. Next. Our Emergency Management Division, we first started off relaunching our CERT and COAD volunteer organizations. Those are going strong. In fact, our CERT, I believe right now, has 17 members on their roster. That is volunteers from the community that just want to be involved with the fire service, and they've gone through the initial training that helps them to take care of themselves and their neighbors in the event of a disaster. Takes a little bit of pressure off of emergency services during that time. But they also go beyond that. They volunteer at a lot of our public events. You'll see them in their green vests down at the parades, at some of the intersections, helping out with law enforcement and fire as we help control those crowds. And COAD is another volunteer organization that they're active, looking at ways that they need to be able to help the community in the event of a disaster. And so those are both going strong. We also participated in 7 different disaster drills in 2025. That was everything from a disaster drill with SEMA to all the way down to our local. We did a disaster drill that we wrote and then participated in with them for a senior living facility here in town. So we're trying to get to as many of those disaster drills as we possibly can. And then the special event planning. This is one thing that I wanted to touch on only because it does take a lot of man hours behind the scenes. Besides the parades and the show of safety and concern that we put into the actual parade, we have a committee that is formed that does the event planning. And that's led out of our Emergency Management Division, but it includes police, fire, EMS, local stakeholders a lot of times. And they put in, and Public Works as well, they put in about 60 hours a year just doing the planning process behind the scenes to prepare for those events. And that doesn't include the actual day of the event. We've been working on communications redundancy. We've implemented things like Starlink and Meshtastic to make sure that in the event of a disaster, if we lose communications in any way, we've also been working with ham. If we lose those communications in any way, we have redundancy in our communication system so that we can continue to communicate through that event. And then we've continued working on our outdoor warning siren replacement program. We've historically had 2 different types of warning sirens out there, and we're trying to narrow that down to 1 type of siren. And the new technology that is in those gives us a farther throw and better overlap in our coverage. Of course, those are designed to notify people who are outdoors that, hey, something's coming, it's time to move inside, right? And so the more area that we can cover with those, the better off we are. And the new ones that we're going to, by the time we get through with this project of replacement, we will be able to monitor and control those through a computer app rather than having to go out to each siren or go through our dispatch center to set it off. We'll be able to monitor all of those things through technology. And so it's a very exciting program that we're working on there. So where do we go from here? Well, obviously the big question out there is the new chief selection. As Chief Martin retired earlier, we were working hard to refill that position with a new fire chief. And so that's priority number 1. The other thing is we're looking right now at the doing a community risk assessment and leads into some strategic planning. It's something that we haven't done. When I looked at it the other day, I think it was about 25 years ago the last time we did a community risk assessment to build our strategic planning off of. That's something that we would like to go through an independent contractor to help us put that together and lead that process. So that's going to be something that we're going to be coming forward with. But I feel like if we're going to look at the future of the fire department, we're going to have to start here at this community risk assessment and build out that strategic plan. Beyond that, we're going to continue to be battle ready through the training and all of the different programs that I just talked about. The guys are going to continue to do those things and remain battle ready so that we can protect the visitors and this community. That's my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you. Any other?
Mr. Mayor?
Hold on, Artie?
Chief,
Yes, sir.
being a small town boy from Kansas, the one thing you mentioned up there was about if you hear a siren, go down under.
Correct.
That's not what a good small town boy does in Kansas. If we see the siren go off or hear it, first thing we do is go out and see where the tornado's at.
Yeah, and go to the front porch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, I just wanted to thank you on your team. I was at the Elevate annual barbecue, and Fire Station 3 captain came out with the truck, and the kids got to be part of that and crawl around. And I have a 6-year-old daughter, so I hear quite frequently about the training. You guys have come to her school, obviously. And one thing, though, that was new for me is I've never seen, I'm going to call it your battle axe, and then it attaches to that metal, like my husband would use to take nails out of something. That sucker is heavy, and it's big. And so I thought that was really cool that they were gracious enough to show us, even some of the tools in there, and it's pretty fancy. And then I've actually been to a couple of the COAD meetings myself, and you do have a great group of people and nonprofits in that meeting. So thank you for all the work you guys do.
Absolutely, thank you.
Clay?
Hey, Chief. A couple of things. So I'm going to comment on Division Chief Patterson because the comments I'm hearing out has just been, they're ecstatic. He's been a pleasure to work with, and I've experienced, he's been at our theater a couple of times with some stuff, and he's top notch. We had a restaurant owner a couple of months ago that was under the gun trying to get a valve replaced. End of business day on a Friday, he calls me, he's freaking out. I go over there, and he shows up late on a Friday, looks at everything, he's like, "You're cool, man, you're going to be fine. So he helped calm that thing down. I've just watched him several times, and he does a really good job. Another thing on the warning sirens, there's one right by my house, and it's working really well. And it's plenty loud. Also, we had lightning hit our pole at the theater about a week and a half ago, and it zapped the whole lighting pole and sent it into the building and charred our wires inside the back thing, and you guys were there in under 4 or 5 minutes and checked everything out. It was right before our show was about to start, made sure everything was safe. We had a theater full of people, and y'all gave us the clear, and it was really cool. And last thing, I was on the Ferris wheel Saturday night, and town was packed this weekend. I mean, I haven't seen it this crowded all year. I'm at the top of the Ferris wheel with my wife and some friends, and here comes the truck coming east, and I'm like, how are they going to get through all this? And I mean, it was stopped, bumper to bumper, and when you get to that red light by the Titanic, you know, all 3 lanes are just stopped. And I was just watching that whole thing, and I just loved. It was a sight to see. First of all the just cars as far as you could see in that truck. I thought I was watching Emergency 51 again from the 80s. I was like, oh, here they come, you know, coming down the center lane there, and everybody just parted in that intersection and right on down the strip, and it was cool to see. So you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. There's a trick to that. We have bigger bumpers.
Yes, you do. Yes.
Thanks, Clyde.
Okay.
Ruth?
Chief Houston, we go back many years, and
Yes, ma'am.
you're a great then. You're doing a fantastic job now. Thank you so much for representing. Thank you to all our Branson Fire Department. Branson Fire Department is second to none, so thank you for all that you do for our community.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chief, thank you for stepping in and doing such a great job of leading our fire department. We love our fire department and really appreciate you keeping them moving forward in the absence of a permanent chief. So thank you for that. You brought up CERT. I just wanted to also shout out, you know, I've been in the CERT group now for a while, and I think Josh is doing just a great job with that CERT group. The success that you're seeing is his great leadership, and there's several trainers and coordinators under him that are really keeping that group moving forward. And I wouldn't be surprised if it grows double that size in another year or so. I think they're just doing a great job there. So kudos to Josh in that role.
Thank you.
You commented on all the new our chief fire officers, firefighters, and all the training. How are we doing on retention? Obviously, we're investing a lot in these folks. Are they sticking around? Are they here for the long term, do you think? What's your perspective?
Yeah, believe it or not, we're not seeing the new ones come and go. They're coming, and the comments that I'm hearing from them is that they love this organization. In fact, I usually tell them welcome home. Because this is where they're coming to stay. It's actually the guys who have been here forever and a day, and they're retiring out, and those are the ones that we're continuing to replace. And we've had a few that have gone, you know, to other departments, but for the most part, it's the older guys, you know, timing out. So
That's great. Well, if there's anything we can do to help retain those great new firefighters, let us know, because I think once you put that kind of investment in them and they've gone through all that, it would be great to make sure that they stick around. I've got a question for you just in general about fire, and I've never heard any discussion on this before, but you know, some of our city streets that are probably have been designed for some time, like along Branson Landing Boulevard, go for long stretches without a fire hydrant in sight. Right? And there's a lot of buildings on that stretch. Do we have a program where your department looks at things like that and recommends additional hydrants be installed, or how is that handled?
yes, absolutely. They're actually in the commercial areas. They have to be within a certain distance from the building. So they are typically there. Now there may be some older parts of town that you know they're a little more scarce. But we also have to keep in mind that we have 3 different water systems here, and we can regulate to some degree, and some we can't. So, but yes, we do have regulations to make sure that we have those hydrants within the area.
I'll just give you an example, and I won't belabor this. But
Sure.
if you look from the roundabout up to 65,
Okay.
okay, on BLB, and you look on the right side across from the hospital, essentially, you look how few fire hydrants are along that run and how many businesses are there. I'm just kind of surprised we as a city aren't pointing to that and saying, hey, we better get a few more fire hydrants in this area.
Yeah, I would have to actually take a look at that area. It's been a while since I've actually looked at that. But, you know, they were put in there by code. Of course, changes to code, you know, come around, but I'd have to look at that.
Yeah, I'll bet you there's a good half mile, quarter mile, half mile between fire hydrants pretty easily. But I would just appreciate your perspective in general. You know, we can talk about it offline if you get a chance, just
Absolutely.
to understand how we should address that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alex?
Chief, thanks again for all you do. In previous briefings, I've heard it brought up as the primary benchmark. There's many benchmarks, but the primary benchmark it seemed like we were striving for as a community fire prevention related was an ISO rating. Is that still the primary push, or what would you say, if you can, because I know we're in flux right now, what is that prevailing benchmark among, there's many, but would you say there's one?
So yes, and that's why I really want to dive into a community risk assessment and a strategic planning, because I think that we have to find other ways to define ourselves besides an ISO rating. We can get a lower ISO rating, but it's going to cost a ton of money, because the only way that we're going to get that number to go down from this point, what we learned during this last round, is that we have to add additional personnel to each fire station that we currently have. That's the only way we're going to get the numbers to go down. Or we have to be able to improve the water system. Our city water system does a fantastic job, but we have some areas where, like I say, we have 3 different water systems, and some of those are not as strong in certain areas. So we're not going to be able to make much of an impact there. So I think we have to look at other ways to really identify those things, and I think it's going to come from that strategic planning and building a response model. And that's why we're trying to drive towards becoming an accredited fire department. And that process looks at many, many aspects besides the training and policies and water systems and all of everything that we do, basically. And it pushes us to strive for excellence. But that is going to be down the road, and we can't get to that process until we start with a community risk assessment.
I appreciate that a ton. Just, you know, from a proactive risk reduction stance, like that's the best thing we can do is prevent it from happening. And so my last thing I'll share with you is we had a great discussion at the Flag Day Parade where we have this brand new event. We're dragging everybody into the community. It's the 250th birthday of America. You know, it's the Midwest, and there's all this stuff going on, and it's your department that's tasked with, you know, emergency operations, you know, of our city, and it takes all the key players to execute the mission. But as a Homeland Security practitioner myself, you see the subtle and very visible signs of what's going on to prevent issues. But then I was amazed at all the other layers that are in play, even for our first iteration event, how well organized and orchestrated it was, because we have plenty of other parades that we do that are much larger than that. But I was pretty impressed that the Flag Day Parade came on pretty quickly and that you guys were already postured and well prepared to handle the issue. So thanks again for just always being ready to respond and providing layers of protection.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Any members of the audience wish to ask any questions of the chief? Make any comments? Hearing none. Chief Houston, thank you so much for your presentation. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the next item is the annual police department update.
Why would you ask Chief Schmidt to follow Chief Houston?
You needed somebody to back clean up.
So let's see how this presentation goes. Chief Schmidt?
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the board. We're going to start out with, I do this every year. I remind you that this is our underlying philosophy. I've got to just explain it recently to a couple of the new aldermen and women here. First and foremost, we have to have legitimacy in the community. That is what keeps us going. That's what the support that we have from the community just basically drives our ability to keep them safe. So this is just a reminder, this is just the 6 pillars of 21st century policing. The 6 pillars there, hopefully throughout the presentation and when we're talking and in everything you see us do, those are very prevalent. And I'll discuss a couple of them here in a little bit. But ultimately, our legitimacy is what allows us to do our job here in this community. So for our calls for service, you can see we've been pretty steady. Dispatch calls have really only fluctuated by less than 1,000 in that infographic there. Police calls were, we managed to just go up just a little, 1%, which was great for us because over the previous few years, we'd had them double-digit increases. But we're still fairly busy. You saw the fire calls in there. Our dispatch does dispatch for fire as well. I broke down these numbers a little bit, and I wanted you to put it in perspective for what these people are doing on a daily basis. In 2023, between 2023 and 2025, we had between 105 to 108 calls per day. Okay, that is 36 calls per shift when you break down our 3 10-hour shifts. And those are individual call takers and dispatchers are taking those and getting the proper people dispatched to the right areas. For the PD, that averaged between 66 and then for this year, 2025, 70 calls per day, which breaks down to 23 and a half calls per shift or 5.9 calls per average officer per day per their shift. And when you think about that, our arrests, we ranged anywhere between 3.5 to 3 arrests per shift. You think about that arrest, when we take somebody over to Taney County, there's about an hour. Then we have the report that's another 30 minutes to an hour minimum, with our more complicated ones much longer. So that gives you some perspective for what the officers are doing on a daily basis. They're staying very busy. And then we do pay attention. One of those pillars is our social media and our transparency with the community. We pay attention as much as it drives me crazy sometimes to look at the comments in Branson Buzz. We do. And we continue to get comments about the traffic in this town. It is a very unique place to do traffic enforcement because every week we get a new clientele. We deal with Kansas one week, Iowa the next week, Oklahoma the following week, and so the education part just kind of is out the window for us because we get a new clientele every week. But our traffic stops over the last 3 years have gone from an average of 4.9 per shift to 10.4 per shift. So our officers are focusing on that pretty intently. I asked our crime analysts now, we've had almost a year with our new CAD RMS system, and we're able to produce some new graphics and heat maps and so forth. So what I asked her to do was to put a side-by-side, give me a side-by-side of where our crimes are occurring and where our officers' self-initiated activity is occurring, which means our proactive enforcement. That is important because somehow, between everything we've applied with our staffing, with our focus on proactive policing, and some of the technology we've added, we are still down since 2022. We've seen double-digit decrease in our property crimes year after year, which, man, I've been in law enforcement for give or take 37 years and I've never seen more than a 5% decrease. So it still keeps decreasing that much, and I just keep praying that we're able to continue to do that. We just see that our officers are focusing on those same areas where those crimes are occurring and that proactive ability. We really do believe in broken windows policing. If we can get people on the small stuff, we prevent the big stuff from happening. And so this map kind of backs that up for me. The only thing, I was a little surprised, we have had a big spike this year in harassment cases. That's kind of verbal threats and so forth. We're up 56% in that. So what my ask of the community would be is, let's just be nicer to everybody. We're getting mad for some really stupid reasons, and we're threatening each other and doing things that get us called. So this is Branson, and it is the most amazing thing since I've been here. We have the Branson effect on people, and we get people that come from inner cities that sometimes think they're going to come and bully their way through, and after like 2 or 3 days, they're thanking us, they're buying us lunch, they're taking on that Branson perspective. So I just remind everybody, we're in Branson. Let's treat everybody like we're in Branson. example, our LPR, commonly known as Flock. This gives you an example of some of the successes we had last year. And this is very understated because our officers have to actually put in the success when they have something, and a lot of times they're dealing with the arrest and stuff, and so they forget to tag that success. So I would say there's probably double that in our successes, but it gives you an idea just how many cases that we were able to clear by arrest or take people off of the street before they had the opportunity to commit crime. As you've heard me say with LPR in the past, man, we get somebody in a stolen car or with warrants from another city that comes down here to victimize us, and we get an alert within 3 to 5 seconds of them hitting the city, and usually the officers have found them within half an hour, and we're able to get them before they commit crime here, so and get them out. So wanted to touch on some of the highlights. We are getting ready to move into the new dispatch center. I just had a Motorola, our warranty rep was just in, and she was blown away by how nice the center is. I am so excited to be getting our people out of that dungeon downstairs. And this is going to be one of the few dispatch centers that they actually have windows and a view, an incredible view. And it's because it's still hardened and can withstand an F5 tornado. And so our dispatchers are going to have actual natural light and top-of-the-line facilities. You can see some of their workstations there. Each workstation has its own heating, air conditioning, so they can individually be comfortable. They can stand if they want, they can sit if they want, different ambient lighting, everything that they can control through their phone app. So we're excited about that, and that should happen right after the 4th of July. And when they're up and it's all running, we'll invite you up to come and take a look. These are some of the highlights from last year. Of course, the big one was moving into the new police department. One of the things I want to highlight in that, if you remember those pillars, was our training and our officer wellness. You can see that incredible weight room that we have there, as well as the training room that we have there. In fact, this week we're hosting a nationally recognized tactical training with a SWAT. It's called Guild Solutions, and we have experts out here teaching not only our officers, but officers from the entire region, to include Benton County down in Arkansas. So we're able to bring some of that expertise to not just us, but the region. And then the weight room facility, we are so excited about that. I was able to incorporate the mandatory workouts on duty, and they are partaking of that. One of the officers is already down 35 pounds, and so we're seeing my own son is down 18 pounds, so we're seeing some really good results on that. And then we worked with HR. Big shout out to them to work with our insurance company. We were able to arrange, remember that family mindset that we have, we were able to arrange for our spouses to be able to come out and work out in the same facility without our insurance. They just have to sign a waiver. Didn't touch our insurance. So that, of course, not only helps the family atmosphere, but our goal is to prove that by doing this, we're bringing down our health insurance costs for the city by reducing our claims by having healthier family members as well. These are some of the highlights of the year, and as you know, the transparency in the community. We were really excited to be able to do the breast cancer awareness with the pink patches, and we had several employees that have had breast cancer, so we were able to work with them. Of course, the Shop with a Hero and the Operation Blue Santa. That's just really a cool photo of our SWAT team training at night. And some neat optics there. And then Ashley, I just love, we have the best animal control officer in the world. I have never seen somebody that cares about animals like her, and so we wanted to give a shout out to her, and it was some of the tools of her trade right there. I mean, you can see she deals with anything and everything. So for 2026, these are our goals for the year. As you know, you've already supported us with the laptops that we should be able to have in stock next month and issue to all our employees. We are going to be acquiring some new canine vehicles. You'll see some different graphics with them that let them blend in. As you know, we already have one officer that's been deputized to really focus on drug interdiction along the highway corridors to reduce the amount of drugs traveling through our city and impacting our community. The motor patrol, if you guys were out at the flag parade, you got to see or not the flag parade, but the light day parade, you get to see our motorcycle, one of our motorcycles leading the parade. Of course, the dispatch move, and we really have a focus on improving our officer safety equipment, our armor. You're going to see a couple things come before you here throughout this year. As far as that, we have a lot of lessons learned from the shooting with Christian County that it's time to make these moves. We're not waiting any longer. We're not going to take chances with our officers' lives anymore, so you're going to see those coming through. And the next item on the agenda is going to be the drone as a first responder. You'll get to see that. We want to get that rolled out. Updated recruitment videos. I want to brag on Maria real quick. A couple weeks ago, she had that fun little post about the Citizens Academy. Within 2 days, that hit 1.8 million views. We are just almost to 2 million views now. They call that mega viral in the young person's world. And so we're excited that hopefully that exposure, we're going to be able to roll out some community or some recruitment videos and help to recruit. And then, of course, our social media presence, which goes hand in hand with that. We want to be transparent. I hate when I read on those various sites that the myth that we hide crime because we don't want the tourists to know about it or anything. Again, as a reminder, we have a crime map right on our website that you can link to and see what our crimes have been reported for the month, for the year, everything along those lines. Half the time, those negative comments saying that we don't release it came as a response to a post that the police department put out. Like, hey, look what happened. I am not going to hide crime from the community. The community is our partner in fighting that. I want them to know what's going on and what to look for, and we certainly want to keep everybody safe, so we're not going to hide things just to try to bring in tourists. And with that, that's the end of that presentation. I'll happily take any questions.
What a great presentation, Chief. What I didn't see up there was extra practice for softball.
I'm glad you brought that up. Do you know that I found out, I was at a certain chiropractic office, and I found out for that there was a semi-pro team that was recruited for the other team, and over half of the players on that were semi-pro. So lesson learned for me. You can fool me once, but we won't be fooled again.
And you have hard evidence on that, Chief?
Well, it's a former alderman that was there and witnessed that conversation.
Okay, consider the source. Questions or comments?
May I?
Go ahead.
Chief, two things. You said property crimes were down, what, 56% or something like that?
No, that one increase in the harassment was up 56%. Everything varies.
No, I'm sorry, I messed that up. Yep. You just said property crimes were way down.
Double digits.
Double
yes.
digit.
Yeah.
What do you contribute that to?
So again, we started kind of measuring this in 2022, and we were able to really improve our staffing. Now we've had some attrition this year, so we're down a 3 officers right now. But not only the staffing and the focus on proactive policing, but working with our PA's office on the repeat offenders. Our crime analyst shares our weekly crime bulletin put out by our analysts so that our PAs that are prosecuting can see this is the 32nd time we've dealt with this guy in the last 2 years. And we make calls. We're like, we need help on this. We need to have this person get some DOC time or get held. And then, of course, all the technology. We brought Flock in 2022, and again, it's giving us a heads up for people that have already been proven to commit crime, and it allows us to get them before they can commit it. And then again, we can go in and search real quickly when we do have a crime, and we're finding things within minutes of the crime occurring. I told you last time I was here about the domestic where the guy fled, we put him in Flock, and we had him found within 5 minutes. Just last week, we had a very serious assault in the county that we were first on scene down by the charcoal plant. Our officers got a description of the vehicle. We got on Flock. Within minutes, we had a plate, and within 30 minutes, they had found him at one of our extended stay hotels, and we had him in custody, the suspect. So that's the kind of stuff that we're able to do with that technology, and officers that are aggressive and proactive and not wanting to let crime happen here.
And then one of the slides, the LPR hits, is that the Flock?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just didn't know what LPR.
LPR stands for license plate reader.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought that was the Flock, but
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Artie, do you have something? Oh, Ashley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to tell you guys, if you didn't know, I got to go to the drone presentation, and that is phenomenal, and I cannot wait to see you guys bring that forward into us and the process of that, because it's like super, super cool. And I got a tour of the facility. I believe it was Officer Caleb, And that was really awesome because I got to like maybe see some of the things the average citizen doesn't get to see, and some of, I'm going to call it your secrets that maybe people don't know about. But the Branson PD, I mean, you guys are on point. You know what you're doing, and I'm even excited to maybe see your lab get built out. I mean, I'm just like CSIing it the whole time I'm going through there. So thank you, all of you guys, what you do, and for keeping us safe.
You're welcome. And one of my goals for that lab is within the next few years, and you'll probably see this on a capital project if I can't get a grant for it, is I want to see us bring rapid DNA to here, because right now we're limited. The state will not do any misdemeanor crimes. They only do certain felonies, and it still takes a while. If we can build our own database, where I came from, we solved 46 catalytic converter thefts just by swabbing the exhaust pipes that they were holding on to with our rapid DNA. Yeah, so it was, there's a lot we can do if we can bring that here. And again, it can be a regional resource, and we can build our database with the other surrounding agencies.
Alex?
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, could you, on the license plate reader discussion, because I know you and I have talked about it, it has its merits. We're using it. It makes good sense. For the public's benefit, could you just answer the basic questions that seem to keep circulating up in some of the forums you mentioned, like how long is it stored? What are we actually using it for? The controls that you have in place for officers, so it's not like perceived as a free-for-all. And then what our actual stake in the game was when we onboarded this program for the city.
Yeah, so the way it works is we don't use, it doesn't have like facial recognition. It doesn't record people. It records a vehicle and the plate associated with it. And we can use vehicle descriptions, but it is stored in the system for 30 days. After that, it is automatically purged. The company does not use that for marketing purposes or anything along those lines. And what that means is our officers have to get that search. If we did have a crime that occurred, we have to get that search done within that 30 days. In order for us to do a search, we have to list the crime, and we have to have an associated case number with it. That is more restrictive than even our state system to run the license plates. So our officers can drive down the street, can look at Mr. Seitz's car, think he looks a little sketch, and run his plate, and we get that information. We can't do that with Flock because we have to be investigating a crime, and we have to list what that crime is. So that's that. And again, it does not keep any identifying information for the person driving it, anything along those lines. It basically, if I could put an officer on every corner that we have LPR that had a photographic memory and was scanning plates and could see who was wanted with the associated warrants and so forth, that's what it does. It does not track everybody's movements, 24/7, where they go. Several courts have already found that limited, that does not qualify for a violation of the expectation of privacy, because we're not minute by minute where you're going. We have them very strategically placed, mostly for the ingress and egress of the city, and then a couple of our higher crime areas. And did you have another question with that?
No, you answered all of them, Chief. And again,
Okay.
I appreciate that. And the more we can convey that to the folks that are concerned, the better off we're going to be, because this is simply a tool that's enabling our officers to have more situational awareness and deal with threats and problems quicker, which is all we want. Like, as a dad of 4, a representative of the schools, like, this is the type of technology. It's not infringing upon anybody's rights, but it's only giving our law enforcement officers a tool to take care of those that are in the city and our guests. And this is a safe destination that people want to come visit because we have a police department with trained professionals that have the right tools.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Glenn?
Yeah, Chief, thanks for the great presentation. I just want to share with you, Beth and I are out in the community teaching security classes. I can't tell you the number of citizens that comment on how proud they are of our Branson Police Department. It's just outstanding. It just comes up on its own in the classes. People truly appreciate you and your officers. I just wanted to pass that along.
I appreciate that, because that is a major goal of ours. The first sentence in our mission statement is our reason for being is the community. And again, you've heard me say this. I have never seen a community where we are so intertwined with the community. Our officers are part of the community, and they are part of us.
Yeah, it's doing a great job. It's really impactful. Could you go back to your heat map slide and just walk us through that a little bit? What are the different color codes and?
Yeah, so the brightest areas are our highest areas of crime, and it's really not a surprise for you. It's where most of our density for our high density housing, our businesses, things along those lines. So this is including everything. This is shoplifting. This is petty theft. Everything under the gamut. So the farther out you go from those dense areas, obviously the less crime you see. You will see a couple spots on the officer-initiated calls that are outside of the city, and the only reason for that is when we receive a call for mutual aid from Hollister or Taney County. In fact, I'll tell you right now that bright red spot up there off IF Highway is Lost Tree Apartments, right? They're busy, and so when they call us for assistance, it goes in as an officer-initiated, even though it was a radio call from the neighboring agency. So that's the reason for those two outside the city. But again, the one on the left is the officer-initiated call, so that's where we're focusing on most of our proactive stops, our traffic stops, things along those lines, because our training and experience has told us the same places where these violations are occurring, these small violations are occurring, are the same places where major crime happens as well. And so you can see that basically coincides and correlates with the bright spots on the right where the reported crimes are.
What is the yellow is what?
I'm sorry, the what?
The yellow? What's the yellow?
Yellow. He means to say yellow.
Yeah, yellow. What is the yellow?
So the more matted color is the least amount of crime and so forth. And so the outline is just the city limits. And then as you go orange to red to yellow, that's how, or I'm sorry, red to orange to yellow, that's the frequency of the events.
Red to orange to yellow.
Yes.
Ward 3 looks pretty good.
Ruth?
As always, thank you, Chief. Great presentation. Thank you for the leadership of our police department, because our police department's second to none as well. And we're just really proud for all that you do for us. Thanks.
You said they're second to none. Does that include the fire department?
Yeah, well, I believe if either one of us, if we're worth our salt, we would believe the other is better, but we do complement each other very well
Yes, you do.
well. So.
Yes, you do. Any questions, comments from the audience? Fire doesn't want to beat up on the police? Nope, you guys are good.
We have a joint item coming up next, so we have to get along.
Oh, okay, well, there's nothing to vote on. We appreciate your report, and keep up the good work, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you for all the support.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6688, an ordinance approving the contract with Motorola Solutions Incorporated for drone as first responder, DFR, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
So you've heard the first reading of Bill 6688. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
A motion to second. Staff report from Chief Schmidt.
Your Honor, members of the board, we are really excited to bring this to you. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge I have Sergeant Teague in the audience here, so if we have any in-depth questions, I'll be able to call him up. He is our sergeant in charge of our drone unit, and he has really helped us carry this into the next century, and we are on the forefront of leading in this area thanks to his efforts. We also do have online a rep from the drone company if we do have any questions related to that. This is a joint project that we are excited about because this is the closest thing to having an actual helicopter that we could get. Brink has made some incredible technological advances over the last few years. We just testified, I testified a couple of years ago in Jeff City that the DJI drones were still outpacing the American drones, and that we really needed the American companies to step up, and Brink has done so. This Guardian drone that we are proposing to you today for contract it far exceeds any of the other drones out there in this drone as a first responder program. Has a top speed of 65 miles an hour. It can be anywhere in the city from the police department within 3 minutes. It has a payload of 10 pounds, so it's designed to be able to drop AEDs, EpiPens, life preservers, any number of different rescue type things, and the dock station that comes with it allows us to stock it with those items. So based on the call, it will the dock will load up whatever it needs and get it self-dispatched and get it in the air so that our pilots can take over. This is a joint program with the Branson Fire Department. We have partnered on this to evaluate all the different drone companies. They actually got to go out to Seattle to the Brink headquarters and see the specifics of the drone and get some very detailed demonstrations, and that's why they're recommending this to us. The change in this, right now, our drone program, we have about 15 calls a month where we're able to put our drone up. And right now, the drone, we have to come get it, take it out, and launch it, so there's sometimes a delay, especially when we don't have a drone pilot on. Even with that, we have had several saves where we saved people's lives. We had one incident with a person that overdosed on some medication. Officers have been looking for approximately 45 minutes before the drone got up there. Within 2 minutes of the drone getting up, we had them with our heat-sensitive camera, and we were able to get our officers and rescue to him before he expired and save a life on that. So there was a lot that we do with that. We find lost hikers. You know, we've had suspects that we've been able to locate to protect our officers and have the high view coming in. It operates a lot like a helicopter in that we have a spotlight, we have flare, and we can put those together or separate them and do numerous things. The way we've divided this up is we basically just went with call load. The police department accounts for about 2/3 of the call load compared to the fire department, so we figured it was only fair for the police department to finance 2/3 of this and the fire department to finance 1/3. We would get roughly 10 pilots each per fire department and police department, and also a couple to 4 dispatchers, so that we always have pilots ready, so that this is truly a 24/7 program. The idea of drone as a first responder is that call comes in, the drone is already connected to the CAD dispatch, and it can self-dispatch on several calls. So that drone can be there before many times our officers are there. It's a huge officer safety thing. It can clear calls. It can tell us, hey, everything is gone, nobody's there. You can disregard the officer, so we don't have to waste man hours going and looking for things when the drone's already been up. But the intel and the life-saving capabilities are by far the biggest reason we're looking at doing this. Brink has teamed with Motorola, so this is actually a contract with Motorola, and Motorola, they believe in this product so much that they, for a select few agencies, and we're one of them, they have offered to cover the first year's expense on the drone program so that we could basically test it out, evaluate it, use it, make sure it's worth it to us before we ever spend a dime on it. And after that, then we have another 5 years with the price in there is right at $140,000 per year. It's a lease program, which gets us a refreshed drone after about halfway through. Also has some spare parts and things that we get to keep for the drone program. And it's a unique contract in that it does not lock us in. If we say we have a recession or something where our funding really drops off, we are able to cancel the contract, and we don't have to stay in for that full length of the contract. So it's really built to be advantageous to us because they believe in the product so much, and we believe it's going to be a game changer for the emergency services and what both police and fire can offer, the hot spots that it can find on the fires, you name it. It's going to give us capabilities that we just have not had in the past. Like I said, much like an air unit. So, well, I'm sorry, we do recommend passage of this. So.
I too was able to attend your drone presentation, and very, very impressive. And I think primarily we saw a few examples of how it did actually offer really good officer protection, and then the cost savings also. Very impressive. Any aldermen have any questions for Chief?
I have a
Ashley?
comment. When we heard Lisa Marshall's, the health department's presentation about how much Narcan they give out, I wasn't surprised by it, but I think it's cool that the drone can also drop Narcan and we can get it to people even quicker, especially if they're in remote locations like in the woods, and how it's got the heat sensing capabilities on it. It's really, really fascinating. I think I also remember you guys saying it can drop a life jacket. And so when we saw some of the stuff happening up in Springfield, I remember thinking, man, that's awesome, because, we have a big body of water, and if we can use it for any of that, it's really amazing. So I'm glad you guys found it. I'm glad you guys are training your captains, and I'm glad that you're working together with the fire department on it.
Put us under the same roof and see what happens.
Yeah. How much was the annual commitment, Chief?
The annual commitment is, it's $139,999, so just under $140,000.
Okay. Clay?
I love it. It sounds like it's going to be amazing in the lives it can save and structure damage it can prevent. It's just, it's cool to see us get into that next burst of technology in our little town here.
Already anything? Nope. Glenn?
Yeah, I just, thanks, Chief. I too was at the demo of the thing, very impressive. I think you've made a great selection in terms of product. I have a son that's a professional drone operator, and so he's thrilled by this. So thanks much for all the great work between you and the fire department and getting this organized. Just one question, is this within your current budget, or are we looking at changes to the budget?
We will need to budget for it, but we expect to have the funds readily available, at least from the police department budget, due to other agreements that we have in place.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Alex?
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, do you know off the top of your head, what is the drone program in its current form run approximately? And it's purely a police function right now, right? Fire department doesn't fund our current drone operation?
It does not, but we do assist them still with their hotspots and stuff with that drone. Right now, I'll call Caleb up if he has any yearly projections, but our drone program has already been paid for by grants we had received in the past. So
that helps, because obviously I as well was at the event and couldn't help myself with my past asking all the questions, so I'm sorry for that. But it is a huge asset, as everyone's already stated, and so to gain all those things, in addition to what we were showing in videos, because for everybody that wasn't able to go, you showed us real Branson videos, real calls of things that were happening. So we got to witness that, then see the demonstration of the equipment. So it just speaks for itself, but just out of curiosity, we've been prudent in using grant funds, so what else can you ask for? And then you're going to cost share it with another department, so thanks again for doing everything you can to help make it a reality for us.
yes, and to clarify, we're going to continue to have those other drones in service, one of which is a SWAT drone, which is tailor-made to go into the buildings, and actually we just used it on that call downtown after this last meeting, and I believe it saved some lives that night. So,
Oh, yeah. Any questions, comments from the audience? Any firemen want to get up and share their concerns about this? No, you're all good?
They're droned out.
Okay, well, with that, we're going to call the question for a vote. So all in favor, actually, let's do a roll call vote, Hill.
Harkness?
Yes.
Lucas?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Scholes?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Your Honor, the next item is a public hearing and first reading of Bill Number 6689, an ordinance approving the final plan development for the property known as the Branson Meadows TIF, Branson, Missouri.
Now open the public hearing to begin with the staff report from Amanda Ross.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Thank you for your time this evening. These documents that you're going to see, these slides tonight, you've seen a couple of times, so we're back in front of you tonight for the final plan development for the Branson Meadows TIF master plan. We do have Great River Engineering here tonight. Also, Branson Meadows, this is the new final plan development. Again, provides mixed use. I'm just going to do a real high overview since you've seen this multiple times. It's going to be consisting of commercial uses, educational, cultural, historical use, indoor and outdoor recreational uses, hotel and resort hotel uses, nightly rental cabins, multifamily residential uses, and employment housing. It is mixed use, community commercial, and part of a PD currently. The Planning Commission previously conducted a public hearing for the preliminary plan development on May 5th of this year and unanimously recommended approval through resolution number PD 2602. And then it came to the Board of Aldermen on May the 12th with another unanimous vote. of approval, and the Planning Commission previously conducted the public hearing on June 8th for the final, with another unanimous vote. It has met the criteria of Section 9448 regarding planned developments. Again, 11 parcels, 71.54 acres. Staff has reviewed the submitted plan development and associated land use regulations and finds the proposal remains consistent with the previous approved preliminary plan development. Staff did not identify any substantial changes in the land use, circulation, development intensity, phasing framework, or overall development configuration that would alter the approved final plan development. With that, we'd like to ask for approval, but I do have Great River here this evening, and I think they would like to address the board if they may.
You bet.
Good evening. I'm David Lundstrom with Great River Engineering. You guys are probably used to seeing Todd. Unfortunately, he's on vacation, so you're stuck with me.
This is a nice break.
Appreciate your time this evening and your consideration of this project. You know, and as we've been through the preliminary process and moving forward into the final PD with little to no change in the content of the PD, we're actually requesting, if the board is agreeable to it, if maybe possibly we could do a double reading tonight to kind of shorten the approval process and maybe get this project rolling a little bit quicker.
Need to get the first one approved first. Just kidding. Okay.
But beside that, if y'all have any questions, I'm here to try to help.
That's great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Amanda?
Staff recommends approval.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
My one question as I'm kind of wrapping my head around this, because for me it's a little bit more recent. When you guys talk about workforce housing, you might not know the specifics, but is it going to be enough workforce housing that is just serving the businesses within the TIF, or is there going to be quite a bit that will also be serving the broader community?
So currently, right now, we don't have any applications in for that portion yet. We're just in the preliminary, well, the final PD tonight. So those questions and answers will be addressed during the permitting process. So once we have the building, we'll know kind of the numbers, you know, what kind of projection they're looking at as far as how many, and if that will just be enough for the area of the TIF or if it will be for other areas of the city.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Glenn?
Yeah, I just would thanks David for being here, but I just want to repeat what we said last time, if I may, Amanda, is that there's an interest in looking at our process of having these two stages for planned developments and collapsing that to one. We would appreciate your input, and feel free to punt this to Todd when he gets back. But we would sure appreciate your input working with our Planning and Development Department as to how we might effectively accomplish that without putting anything at risk, right? But just for the sake of being more developer friendly, if we can achieve that, I think this board would probably be interested in that discussion. Thank you.
Kathy?
Thank you, Alderman Schultz, for that. That is actually one of the proposals that we've been working with the chamber on as of late, and you'll be hearing from them at your next Board of Aldermen meeting. We've had really productive conversations where they've done some of the vetting for us with the builder-developer community, and they've given me a list of, I think, 12 or 13 different ideas that are actually solution-driven versus complaint, only, right? Which I really, really welcome that. So we're going to have a lot of really exciting things to be sharing with you guys in the upcoming weeks. One more thing to Alderwoman Harkness's question. I'll provide just a little bit more light on that for you. During the TIF and discussions and in the negotiations that we had preliminarily on the workforce housing in particular, we wanted as many workforce housing units as we could get. And in fact, the original number that we had asked for, and I can't off the top of my head remember exactly what that was, but we ended up with substantially more than what we were even asking. And whether they're all working, they're not going to be restricted to only people working in that area. They'll be open for anybody that fits in that criteria. So thank you.
If I might add, we did have the pleasure to meet with a couple of the commissioners after the last PC meeting to start those conversations on how that looks. So I just want to thank them for their time as well. And so we'll do an internal meeting, and then we'll be reaching out to you guys to see how we can make that process a little bit more efficient.
Ruth?
I just want to thank Administrator Stepp and Amanda and your department for all the work that's been put in to this. In the past, I mean, a plan development, all it is zoning. It's a zoning request. And a subdivision plat is a subdivision plat. And the preliminary, some people submit the preliminaries and the finals because they have all their public work elements. I know you know this, but just to provide clarity. So I'm excited about the plan developments being one process and allowing, if there's no changes between your preliminary and your final and you have everything else in order with your public works elements, I think it's a smooth process. So thank you for all the efforts that have been put into this.
Thank you.
Any other aldermen? Anybody in the audience would like to speak to this? Well, hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. So you've heard the first reading of Bill 6689. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this matter? Anybody in the audience? So any aldermen before we go to vote? Hearing none. Hillary, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Harkness,
Yes.
Lucas,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Denham,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
And Your Honor, if I may request to move reading Bill number 6690 for its final reading due to timing and streamlining the process.
I think that was 6689, Alex, is that right?
Oh, sorry, I might be ahead of you. Yes, correction, 6689. Thank you.
Okay. We have a second?
Second.
So with a motion and a second, any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this matter? Anybody in the audience? Hearing none, we're voting to approve a second read. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6689, an ordinance approving the final plan development for the property known as the Branson Meadows TIF, Branson, Missouri.
So you've heard the final reading of Bill 6689. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any alderman wishing to speak to this? Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this? Hearing none, this is a final read, so Madam Clerk, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Harkness,
Yes.
Lucas,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Denham,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is a public hearing and first reading of Bill number 6690, an ordinance approving the final subdivision plat for the Longstone 2 subdivision, Branson, Missouri.
So we'll now open a public hearing and begin with a staff report from Amanda.
Thank you. This one has been in front of you a couple times as well, so we'll just do a high overview of it. It's the request for a final plat, 622 Sunshine. There's a quick view of the location. Existing conditions to the northwest, east, and south is low-density residential, and the current zoning is low-density residential. Its existing land use is vacant. Here's your aerial with your water connections and your sewer on site. The Planning Commission previously recommended approval of the preliminary plat on October 7th, 2025, unanimously through Resolution SD 2514. The Board of Aldermen approved the preliminary plat on October 14th, 2025, unanimously. And the proposed final plat for Longstone 2 subdivision, Phase 1, has been reviewed under the major subdivision procedures of Section 94.8 of the Branson Municipal Code. The preliminary plat for Longstone 2 was previously approved by the Planning Commission and the Board of Aldermen. Staff finds the proposed final plat satisfies the criteria. They are wanting to phase this currently, so Phase 1 includes 9 lots and associated street and access improvements necessary to support the phase of the development, while the approved preliminary plat contemplated a total of 35 lots. The proposed lot layout, street network, and access points remain consistent with the approved subdivision design, and staff reviewed the submitted plat and finds the proposal remains in substantial compliance with the approved preliminary plat. Also in Section 94.8-8 requires that improvement plans for any required public or private improvement be reviewed and approved prior to the final plat approval. The applicant submitted construction plans for required infrastructure improvements, which have been reviewed and approved by the appropriate city departments. Staff finds that this criteria has been satisfied as well. At this time, the Planning Commission, when this went before the Planning Commission, they are financially, the final financial security documentation associated with the required infrastructure improvements is still being finalized. The applicant is aware that if in fact that does not come through and it's approved tonight, that we will pull that from the consent agenda. But I did speak with the applicant today. He couldn't be here, he was traveling. He did give me his word that he has those, the bond is drafted and he will sign those tomorrow morning, and then he will hand deliver those to City Hall the beginning of next week. And with that, staff asks for approval. I can answer any questions you might have.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Hearing none, this public hearing is now closed. You've heard the first reading of Bill 6690. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this? Any members of the audience? Hearing none, this is, we're going to take a vote, and I think we'll say just all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Branson, Missouri, setting forth the facts and reasons for the necessity to amend and increase the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2026 in the amount of $1,444. 560. Yeah, numbers are not, they're not my thing. 144,567 for property liability, cyber liability, workers' compensation, insurance coverages, premiums.
For clarification, that's $144,567.
Thank you, thank you. It's
Do
not
I have
as
a
easy
motion
as it is.
adopting this resolution?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We get a staff report from Allison. Oh, you're not Allison.
I'm not. Allison left today, so I'm filling in for Allison.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
insurance policy is housed under HR. She just provides the funding. So that's how this is working today. In March of this year, we issued an RFQ for broker services for our property liability work comp policies. In April, we selected Allis Acres Arnie as our new broker. This transition created a very tight timeline to get all of those renewals back to us. We weren't needing a full renewal, but did want to make some additions to our policies in cyber and our wind and hail buyback, and then also had a little bit of an uptick in the work comp premium. So that's why we're here today, is to ask for approval for those increased premiums, totaling that $144,567. This is approximately $66,000 for the property liability. That increase covered additional structures and values for the police station, as well as some additional vehicles that we purchased that might have cost a little more than the vehicles we were replacing. You know, insurance. We also increased our cyber liability coverage from $5 million to $10 million. This created an increased premium of $54,477. And then the work comp piece went up $84,000. This is primarily impacted by payroll and our loss runs. So loss runs are looked at over a 3-year average. They are ticking down. We did have a year that was really bad a few years ago. That should be falling off next year. So hopefully those things will be coming down. We're also working very hard with our new broker agency to close out any claims that are still pending and open. That will help reduce that rate as well. So that's what we're here for today, is to ask for a little more money to get those premiums paid.
Okay. Any questions from the alderman?
Mayor.
Alex?
Ma'am, do you know, you said it was a bad year. Is that, when it comes to workers' comp, are we referring to risk reduction measures were put in place because of an issue, or we just had more accidents in a given year?
Every once in a while you have more accidents, and sometimes they're not accidents. They may be like a torn rotator cuff, right? Which is caused by an accident, but typically when you have that big uptick, it's things like that. Orthopedic surgeries are what caused such a big uptick, and that's exactly what it was. So, you know, it's a shoulder, a knee, those kind of things that caused such a big uptick. And we happen to have, was it 7 in 1 year? So 7 in 1 year. And when that happens, it just spikes you way up, right? And they're very, very large claims. We've also, Bob has done a great job in mitigating some of that by saying, if you've just gotten a cut that's going to require a few stitches or something like that, we file a claim, we have to report, but we don't actually ask them to pay for it through insurance. We pay for that out of pocket, right, to help kind of reduce some of that claim dollar spend.
And the last question I have on it is, was the request to double the coverage on cyber, obviously you can't say why, and I wouldn't ask you to because you don't want to tip your hand on vulnerabilities, but was it concern-driven or proactively driven, and where did it come from primarily?
Proactively driven, and that was a request from admin and IT.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I truly think that $5 million probably wouldn't touch a claim, right, in the cyber world if there was a breach or something.
Any other questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6691, an ordinance amending the adopted 2026 budget for the City of Branson to adjust monies for the additional insurance expense in the general fund and approving the contract with Allis Acres, Arnie Insurance, and Business Advisors for the purchase of property liability, cyber liability, and workers' compensation insurance coverages, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
So you've heard the first reading of Bill 6691. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Haley.
Ditto. Everything I just said.
Everything's the same. So do we have the same questions from the board? Alex, same questions?
Just one, I guess, since I don't know, I thought I picked up during your previous briefing that there was a time crunch. So is there anything behind that you're asking, or is it just purely informational?
Nope, we are. So we do need a double read, right? This policy renewed July 1. And the reason we're pushing so hard with that, with those renewals, was one, with the change of broker, but also because we went back to the carriers and asked them for those upticks. And it just takes some time, right, to get all of that back, to get the contracts back through contract management. So that's the only reason.
Any other questions from the board?
I know.
Any questions from the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill 6691 for its final reading due to timing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We're going to vote, and the vote is to just approve to have a second reading. So any questions from the board? Questions from the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. So, Madam Clerk, would you please read this for its final reading?
Your Honor, this is a final reading of Bill Number 6691, an ordinance amending the adopted 2026 budget for the City of Branson to adjust monies for additional insurance expenses in the general fund and approving the contract with Allis Acres and Arnie Insurance and Business Advisors for the purchase of property liability, cyber liability, and workers' compensation insurance coverages, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
So you've heard the final reading of Bill 6691. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions from the members of the board? Questions from the audience? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Harkness,
Yes.
Lucas,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Denham,
Yes.
Scholes,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
We're at the reports. Thank you, Haley. We're at the report section of the meeting. We'll start with Alderman Harkness.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the past couple of weeks, I've actually spent some time reflecting on why I'm here, what in the world I signed up for, and what matters most. So I can honestly say that my reasons remain steadfast. I'm here to serve our community. I'm here to be a voice for our residents, and I'm here to advocate for others and to continually ask the question, can we do better? These questions will also guide me. Is it good for our residents? Is it good for tourism? Is it good for our community? And can we do better? That requires an honest look at where we are today and where we want to go tomorrow. I am actually confident that our board is moving in the right direction, and I'm eager to continue learning, growing, and applying myself in this role. I've even started reading my massive Robert's Rules of Order handbook, and I'm learning that I'm actually supposed to say, Mr. Mayor, and wait to be recognized before speaking. So none of this came with a handbook on day one, you guys. Recently, I did attend the Missouri Municipal League training for newly elected and seasoned officials. One of the biggest takeaways was the value of building relationships with other municipalities. What can we learn from them? How can we share resources, ideas, and best practices? There is a statewide event in September that I actually think would be very beneficial for all of us to attend, even our city staff. I also gained a deeper understanding of the Sunshine Law, how it relates to executive sessions, and the responsibilities that come with public service. So this past week, I also attended the Lodging Association's annual luncheon, where the Chamber CVB shared updates on the incredible work that's being done throughout our community. It's always very impressive to me what our community entities are actually working on. I'm very excited to be working with each of them towards collective priorities and goals. I'm learning that essentially we all do want the same thing, a bright future, a thriving year-round tourism economy, and quality of life for our residents. I also had the opportunity to speak with HVS. Thank you, Alex and Kathy, for that one. The company conducting the feasibility study for the proposed sports complex. I was glad to ask a question that I believe deserves attention. That is, how will this project impact the quality of life for our residents? I've also had several conversations with Cindy in our Parks Department, and I'm excited to advocate for splash pads and a turfed soccer field as part of our upcoming budget discussions. I will continue exploring the viability of an indoor aquatic center as part of our long-term capital planning, and always welcome our residents' feedback on priorities, concerns, and ideas. We also received a response to our letter from MoDOT regarding our sidewalks on State Highway 165. While I'm not certain that this project will move forward in 2027, I need some people helping me understand really what is happening. I will continue to advocate for it and encourage residents who support additional pedestrian infrastructure to make their voices heard as well through the MoDOT website. It is truly an honor to represent Ward 3 and serve our greater community. I want to help create a culture where the city is a partner to those who live, work, invest, and raise their families here. I will continue asking, can we do better? And just as importantly, can I do better? Thank you for trusting me with this responsibility. I'm excited to be part of building a community where residents thrive, businesses succeed, and our children grow up wanting to stay, work, play, and raise families of their own in our wonderful community. So as always, many blessings to you all, and thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. And when it's appropriate, would you share the response from HFS about the question you asked about the quality of life for the sports facility, how it affects our quality of life?
Sure.
Thank you. Alderman Lucas.
I really enjoyed being a part of the Flag Day Parade, that we got to ride on the city float and throw candy to kids, not at kids. I played sports for a long time, and I really learned the difference. But I was just disappointed that we didn't have a bigger turnout, a bigger crowd. And maybe next year we'll do a better job of promoting it and getting more people to understand that we're having it and what it's for. And I appreciate Alex pushing to get that going, so thank you, Alex. Also, I had the chance to attend the Branson Area Lodging Association meeting as well, and enjoyed hearing all the presentations and getting the opportunity to visit with a lot of people that I hadn't seen for a couple of months. So that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Clay?
The flag parade, we sent our cast, Hot Rods and High Heels, one of our 50s show from the theater. They were there riding in a slick little 57 Chevy, and my son and all the cast said they had a blast handing out stickers. And we sent a couple of ladies that work in my gift shop. Their husbands are veterans. Jerry and Archie were there getting to ride in the car, and they just loved every bit of it. Law Enforcement Week was unbelievable. Met a ton of law enforcement this week. Every show I ask, how many law enforcement do we have? And there's always a handful, but this last week it was incredible how many more hands that came up each night. So it was a very successful law enforcement week. The past couple of weeks we've had a couple of major dance competitions in town, a bluegrass convention, bluegrass and barbecue at our city, law enforcement week. Had a really cool community theater junior musical down at the Owens Theater that I went and watched last week, and it was unbelievable. It was fabulous. Town was packed this weekend, bigger than I've ever seen it this entire year. So it's really cool to see all the diverse things that people are coming to town for, not just, you know, the Clay Cooper show. But there's a lot of stuff to do. I don't know if you knew that, right? But anyhow, also this last weekend, we had a big Branson High School basketball tournament in Poplar Bluff, and my wife and I got to go down for a day off and watch that. And the Branson Pirates went 11-1 and lost by 2 in the championship game. So excited about the Branson High School basketball and football coming up this season as well. So it's been a great season. Glad to be a part of it.
Very nice. Ruth?
I'm a little disorganized here. My printer went out at home, and so I've been scribing all night, but I've been listening because I took pictures of my screen. Excuse me. Last Saturday, I attended the Liberty Rally at Big Cedar. It was extremely well attended. Our keynote speaker was Senator Burleson. Also in attendance were Senator Moon, Senator Hudson, and of course, our very own Representative Sight and Representative Whaley. Probably left some people out, but it was a great time. We really enjoyed having you speak there and pray. Second of all, congratulations to the City of Branson for making the Guinness World Book of Records. There were so many festivities that were held last Sunday. I did not attend, not because I did not want to, but I had an appointment that I wanted to keep. I chose to join Cherry Webster and the Diegers to go visit our planning commissioner, Charles Hillis, in the hospital in Springfield. Charles was having major surgery that next morning, and we wanted to just go visit and encourage him. His quadruple bypass surgery was a success, and he's now home resting, so please keep him and his wife Leslie and their family in your prayers. That's going to take a while for him to recoup. Here I go to my next page. Okay, so the Fountains of Fall Creek Agreement, I just had spent in the making for over 4 years. The non-negotiables that were discussed, they were discussed in our courtroom in a meeting 4 years ago with the Country Bluff Estate residents, city directors, Mayor Milton, former Alderman Ralph LeBlanc, and myself. Many meetings were held on-site in Country Bluff Estates. Administrator Stepp attended, not only listened, but she heard all the concerns of the residents. A thank you to Cherry Webster for never giving up on her neighborhood. This agreement has been a long time coming. The county sewer agreement and dollars offered up for the improvements for this property just happened to come to fruition at the same time this final development agreement was completed. I want to offer a huge thank you to Mayor Milton, Administrator Stepp, for your untiring efforts to work with the Country Bluff residents. Also, Alderman Ralph LeBlanc always being at location to provide support to the residents, as well as voicing his support from right up here at the dais. This neighborhood's really special to me, in case people haven't noticed. I promised that I would fight hard for all neighborhoods in Ward 3 and others whenever needed. I'm willing to provide that support. Reach out to me if there's needs that arise. Not all of what was asked for was agreed upon, but so much was. I think that both sides really did have some winning points. I look forward to great development in which all new owners and the existing Country Bluff estate owners can enjoy the privacy on their property. So thank you. And then lastly, if you've been around a while, you know who Judge Ray was. Peter Ray passed away, and his service will be at 2 o'clock on Friday at the First Baptist Church in Forsyth. Please keep his wife and family in your prayers. He served as our city attorney here, and he served city attorney in City of Hollister too, and was involved in so many other things. So just please keep them in your prayers.
Thank you. Glenn?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too participated in the Flag Day Parade. It was a nice event. I agree. I think it'll build as the years go on, but it was fun. And Administrator Stepp, I'm not sure who's responsible, but make sure to thank the staff for building that float and then allowing us to. Of course, some people rode on the float. Other people walked alongside the float. What am I saying, Artie? I don't know. But it was a fun event, and thanks to everybody that worked to put that thing together. I was really pleased to hear that Alderwoman Harkness attended MML. You know, it's an organization that I too value for their training and expertise. I just as a way of information, I was at our regional MML meeting about a month ago now, I guess that was, and I offered Branson to host the 2027 regional MML meeting. So it's not the full MML, but our region. We'll have more details on that as it gets closer. I attended the 2 data center seminars that I mentioned last time. One was hosted by MML and the County Association and the School Board Association for the state. Excellent speakers. I mean, they had one of the commissioners from Loudoun County, Virginia, which is the area with the most density of data centers in the world. So there was a guy that just has a wealth of experience on what they did right, what they did wrong, what they would change if they could, and he basically laid it all out on the table. And it was just one good speaker after another. I really give that organization credit for putting together such a credible seminar. And contrary to some of the press about it, it wasn't to sell us as public officials on the idea of putting in data centers. It was really to expose us to all the issues about data centers from a very unbiased perspective, but also to highlight what has changed in the last year or two with data centers. And there's been some very substantial changes. So great seminar. The second day I went to S&T in Rolla. It was the governor's meeting on data centers. The governor was there to speak. Again, a slightly different angle, probably less of a technical angle. Instead, it brought in all the activity within the state government as to what they're doing around data centers, and if you are considering a data center, how they can help, economic development activity, training of workforces, all the things around data centers. So 2 really well-invested days on my part. I walked away with some definite actions that we can take as a community to put the rest of our ordinances in place relative to data centers. And I've already talked to our county commissioners about the same. So I'll be sharing some of that information with them so that they can take a look at as well. But just really great, and look for some things coming up on future agendas relative to that. And the last thing is, I just want to reflect what Representative Seitz said. We're getting excited about getting our legislative agenda together in plenty of time for you and our senator to be able to look it over and tell us what you think is doable and get your early filings in relative to it. So we're engaged this year, and we'll have you back to talk about it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Kathy Stepp? Nope. My report, oh, I'm sorry, Alex.
Thank
You know, Glenn is so tall, and he leans over. Sorry, Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So public comment. I just want to reiterate to everybody in here, my colleagues and online, the intent and the heart behind the original amendment that I sponsored. Just me to you, all the people I just mentioned. The goal is to prioritize city business. City business means our residents first. So I need to make sure that's very clear. So I'm responsive to that idea. I know my colleagues are too. So just know we're here to serve you, and that means we're flexible. We know what our values are, but we're flexible and we're listening. Second, I was trusted to go and represent the city on the leadership trip to Tennessee. Went to Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, Gatlinburg, and went with partners, community partners, the chamber, TCP, other elected officials from the county, and business owners and others, a big group. The big takeaways from there, and I wrote a full-length email to my colleagues, sent that to you all today, but the takeaway for the public is they did the same thing to us a few decades ago, is what they shared with us. They said, hey, Branson, you've got it all figured out, and they watched what we did. They took it back, they executed, and now we see Branson, just in Tennessee, in a very effective version of us. So we are now doing the same thing. We're going out, we're taking notes, we're coming back, and we're going into an implementation phase. We have so many opportunities right now, going through the comprehensive plan, going through budgetary process, going through legislative priorities. We can really take it and be timely with it. So I'm very grateful to have gone on that trip, and I look forward to implementing some of those things that we saw with my colleagues and our community partners that went on the trip. Flag Day was great. You know, I know some folks may have felt like it was underattended, but it's Branson, Missouri, and we made it a priority. I'm glad that we made it a priority because that's us, and we did a lot of great things that day, and I'm grateful for that. We did such a good job that we had Austin Von Letkeman come out, who is a well-pronounced social media influencer, 4 million followers, and he's in Branson, Missouri, watching us break the world record, and he's doing social media on that. So that means we have people's attention. And particularly with him, the young veteran community, which as a veteran myself, I worry about the longevity and the long-term relationship between Branson and its veterans. We want to continue to maintain that and think about the next generation of veterans, and he's helping give us credibility on that. As a former Army aviator, I was super proud to watch the Missouri Army National Guard support us as well with a multi-ship flyover the aquarium. That was really awesome. We're greatly supported by the state of Missouri. The flag initiative that I've sponsored has been going well. It's resulted in SOP changes, so standard operating procedures. We're maintaining the flags more frequently. Business owners are taking the advice that we're sharing in the community well. Businesses across our entire community are fixing some things that needed to be fixed, and ultimately just our whole community is thriving and respecting the United States flag, and that makes me, and I'm sure you as well, very, very excited. Something I'm working on with the staff is campaign sign reform, so helping our police department and code enforcement have some more bandwidth back to do what they do best, which is not being worried about policing up campaign signs. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to increase safety and help increase the civic process here in Branson, which is a very big deal. Local and state legislative priorities. We are going to be proactive, and we're going to name what we want to work on so we can be held accountable to that. Some of those will be the state-specific things that we'll give off to the state representative and state senator. Others will be local level, and we'll be held accountable to those items because we can act on those items, whereas we'll work with our partners to hope to achieve our state priorities as well. The next date for the community, since community input is first and foremost, is July 14th with a study session. Please make sure that if that's something near and dear to you, that you're able to attend, and if all goes well, we should be adopting that on July 28th, provided we got it right on the first go. I had the honor to attend and be a part of this comprehensive plan committee that met for the first time in nearly 12 months, Monday night, and so I've spoken about this since being an alderman. We're going through this process because the previous board said it was time to change it, and I agree with them. Our previous community plan was not comprehensive and it was not relevant to Branson, so we're taking the reins, we're making it ours, and we have the right people on the committee to get it done, so it's time to get into the implementation phase and carry us into the next chapter. And then I'll end with, it's time to move forward. We have lots of big conversations in this town. Let's start capitalizing on some short-term wins, and then we can start turning those into bigger and more loftier wins from there. I'm honored to get to be here and representing Ward 1, the city. It's a huge blessing, a massive responsibility, and thank you again. Appreciate all of you.
Thanks, Alex. Kathy, same report?
What?
Same report?
Same as what?
Your last one.
Same as my last one. Why did I not have a report last
That's right.
time? Oh, you wish that that's what it was. Just a couple of quick things, just to echo Alderwoman Denham, thank you for bringing up Charles Hillis. Our blessings and prayers to him, to his family. He is such a contributor to the city and a heart as big as City Hall. So blessings to him on a speedy recovery and full recovery. And also, I want to just touch base with everybody again on the fountains at Fall Creek development. And it has been a long road, not as long for me as it's been for the developer himself and the residents of Country Bluff. And so it's been a long journey. So I do want to also recognize, you know, the past alderman, yourself, Alderwoman Harkness, since coming on, you know, very quickly. She was in the deep end of the pool on this, almost literally. And so, and I also want to thank Mr. Ruda and his team for giving us, and you guys all, a tour so you could see it with your own eyes and understand it's very different when you're out there on the land versus seeing something on paper, which is just two-dimensional. So thank you guys for putting in the extra work and the effort that you did to get this across the finish line. Branson will be much better served. And if we can keep that kind of momentum and motivation going to where we can lock arms and work together through the lens always of what is the best for the city of Branson, if that is our first filter on all the things that we do and you do as a team, there are no limits to the successes we will see on the ground in this community for decades to come. It's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. My report is I was pleased to give an opening welcome to the Rally Point celebration that they had this year. I was also blessed to be one of the judges for the Guinness World Book record for the flags, which was pretty cool. In our Flag Day parade, I rode in our fire truck. We were not provided candy to throw out. Not sure why. I was also invited to the Lodging Association, their Board of Director meetings. So each month now, their Board of Directors meeting is going to include an invitation for myself and Kathy Stepp to attend those, which is real interesting. They have a real interesting group on their Board of Directors, and they're looking at making some good, positive changes moving forward. So I'll be reporting back on probably our next meeting. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Well, it's the slowest motion and second I've had to adjourn. So let's please vote. Vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, double dog dare ya. Meeting's adjourned.